Petite découverte de Lamplight City, qui, comme je le disais, est sorti en 2018, qui est un jeu de détective. Alors attention, que en anglais. Et au niveau du tarif, le tarif, il est à 14,99. Et bah, ma foi, c'est parti. Il a l'air pas mal.
Bill, wake up! The carriage is on fire!
That's only funny when I do it to you.
What's the matter? Have a rough night?
Bit too much Bollingworth ale is all. That stuff really creeps up on you.
Sorry I couldn't join you, but I was long overdue for a quiet night in with Addie.
That's fine. There'll be plenty of other opportunities. Hell, maybe Adelaide can even join us. It's been ages since she last drank me under the table.
Afraid she mostly sticks to tea these days.
Miles, what exactly is it we're looking into? I may have dozed off during the briefing.
Honestly, Bill, one of these days Snelling's gonna notice.
No, he won't. Why do you think they put him behind a desk? The man couldn't find his own backside with a pair of pliers and a lantern.
Very funny. Anyway, it's a burglary at the Hambrook Flower Shop.
A burglary, eh? How dull. At least we'll have enough time to get a drink afterwards.
You seem awfully certain of that.
I am. In fact, I'd bet the devil my head that we're done within the hour.
Well, the devil's gonna be disappointed that his winnings are so meager.
C'est cool, c'est full doublé. J'aime ça. Pour l'instant, du
You've
moins.
arrived. After you, Bill.
Ça, j'aime bien. Peut-être un peu fort, je vais baisser un peu. Ah, du coup, quand je vais à le table, vous n'avez plus rien. Ah, dépêche-toi, moi.
Thank you. Keep the change.
Moi, j'imagine que ça va être un peu tuto, ce cambriolage.
And so, our night of excitement begins.
You, more than anyone else, should know that there's rarely a dull night in Chumley.
I have a feeling tonight will be the exception. Until we get to the pub, that is.
Keep your mind on the case, Bill. Now let's get a move on.
Ok. Ok. Donc là, on peut regarder à travers la fenêtre. Alors l'idée, normalement, c'est que c'est un jeu où on peut quand même vraiment un petit peu avoir ce côté... l'impression de mener soi-même l'enquête, quoi. C'est censé être ça.
An all too common sight in this part of town.
Sad to say, it hasn't really changed much since I was a boy. Fordham, what are you doing?
I was gonna check inside this trash can for clues.
Miles, in the 15 years we've been partners, how many times have you found something inside a trash can that wasn't garbage?
Fair point. Looks like they've had some trouble with vandalism.
Pretty much every business in this part of town has.
That reminds me, I should pick up a bouquet for Addie when we're done here.
Seems like you've been spending more time with me than with her lately. I sure hope she's not the jealous type.
Come on, Bill.
Charming little place, isn't it?
Charming, but empty. We need to find the owner.
Always so to the point, Fordham. If ever there was a better time to stop and smell the flowers.
I think I'll leave that to you, Bill.
With my allergies, hardly.
J'aime bien hein, pour l'instant. Il y a un vrai style. Hein.
Plants hanging on hooks. Nice space-saving method.
I'd probably bang my head against them constantly if I had them in my apartment.
These prices are pretty reasonable. The place I go in Worcester's clearly robbing me blind.
If you think those are bad, don't go near the flower shops in Lyon.
Not too many left. Seems business isn't so bad around here.
Well, you know what they say. There are only 3 certainties in life. Death, taxes, and people taking advantage of sales.
Et du coup, pour revenir à ce dont on discutait, Néo, ouais,
Mostly a
clairement...
bunch of fertilizer and...
Growth tonics, eh?
C'était
Plant
bon, les
growth tonic
recettes.
spill.
Of course.
Simple,
I
mais
knew
bon.
that.
C'était des valeurs sûres, je dirais. Que tu peux intégrer, du coup, à ta routine. C'était pas mal.
Be right there. Oh, hello, gentlemen. I must say you caught me by surprise.
Je le
I
conseille
was
en one
preparing
shot,
to
quoi.
close soon. May I help you find anything? The flowers in the center display are half price this week, and I have a special on chrysanthemums today. Or perhaps a custom bouquet for the special ladies in your lives?
I have no need myself, but maybe Adelaide would appreciate a little something. Eh, Miles? Those peonies in the corner look nice.
I'm afraid we're not here as customers tonight, ma'am. We'd like to have a word with the proprietor. Is he in?
I see. I'm Cecilia Handbook, and this is my shop. What can I do for you, gentlemen?
I'm Detective Miles Fordham, and this is my partner, William Legere. We received a report of a burglary at your store.
A report? From whom? I never contacted the police before, and I didn't this time, either.
It was made anonymously, but are you saying this isn't the first time it's happened?
Correct. It's happened 3 times. But considering the police hardly care about the daily muggings and vandalisms around here, I didn't think they would be interested in something so trivial.
Well, we're here now, and we'll do all we can to help you.
We'll have to see about that.
If you wouldn't mind, Mrs. Handbrook, I'd like to ask you a few questions.
Very well, Detective.
Oh là là. Je suis à fond dedans, j'ai l'impression de suivre une série, tu sais, avec vous. J'ai oublié que c'était un jeu. Salut Massidra, salut, bienvenue.
Could you give me the details concerning the burglaries?
About 3 weeks ago on Monday, I noticed that my order of Easter lilies was missing. At first, I thought nothing of it. Sometimes certain types of flowers are unavailable or arrive in poor condition. These things happen. Then 2 weeks ago on Wednesday, it happened again. But this time, I noticed something rather odd.
Go on.
When I opened the shop, there were 6 crowns and 10 shillings on the counter. That's exactly the cost of 2 orders of lilies. Last Friday, it happened yet again. The lilies were missing, and there was payment for 1 order on the counter. I believe that someone has been breaking into my shop after hours, taking the lilies, and leaving money behind.
How unusual. Have you found any evidence of a break-in?
No, the front door is always locked. My assistant Trevor and I are the only ones with the key.
Are there any other points of access to the building?
The upstairs windows, I suppose, but I make sure to keep them locked, and neither of them have been broken.
Would you allow us to have a look upstairs?
Is that really necessary? I was just about to close up the shop.
Si tu veux pas qu'on t'aide.
It won't take but a moment.
Fine, I suppose you may, but please, don't dally too long.
You mentioned your assistant has the other shop key. What can you tell me about him?
His name is Trevor Hastings, and he has been working for me for the past 10 years.
Hastings.
Do you trust him?
Implicitly. I've known him for ages, and he has been my full-time assistant since shortly after my husband died. You're not suggesting he had anything to do with this, are you?
Not at all. I would like to speak with him, though. Where might I find him?
It's Friday, so he should be on his way back from the docks right now. He'll be bringing my flower order within the hour.
Good. We'll meet him here, then. If that's all right with you.
I suppose I don't really have much of a choice, do I?
J'ai 3000 objectifs qui se mettent.
Have you been in business long?
Yes, I opened this shop 30 years ago, along with my late husband, David. But the past 10 years, I've been running things on my own.
Don't you feel unsafe being here by yourself so late into the night?
Detective, when you've lived in this part of town as long as I have, it takes quite a lot to scare you.
So this burglar has been paying for the stolen goods?
That would appear to be the case, yes. I really don't think this could even be considered a crime. That's one of the reasons I didn't bother reporting it to the police.
And the other reasons?
Oh, I think I've already made those quite clear, Detective.
Have you noticed any suspicious characters lurking around?
Detective Fordham, this is Chumley. You can't throw a stone without hitting a suspicious character. And if you've noticed my window, you'd be aware that stones get thrown around quite a bit in this neighborhood. If you're looking for trouble, you're far more likely to find it out there than in here.
I meant if you'd seen anyone out of the ordinary near your shop.
Only the 2 men from the police who entered it tonight. That is most definitely out of the ordinary.
I think that's all the information I need for now.
All right, Detective.
Deux secondes, les gens. Je demande pour behind the frame, du coup. Hop. Alright, détective.
Lost in thought again, eh?
Alors, comment on ouvre l'inventaire? Là. Là. Ah. Parfait. Bon, de toute façon, on doit aller en haut, hein. Upstairs. To check the windows.
Interesting choice of decor in here.
Perhaps it wasn't always used as a storeroom, although I can understand why it would have been converted.
Yeah, it is rather drafty in here.
Donc, regardons une fenêtre.
The window latch, securely locked. This provides a means of escape from the top floor, or access to this window from the ground.
Ouais, mais il y a ça. Donc c'est mort.
Interesting. There's a gap between the window and the frame here.
Ah, on peut faire un petit quick.
I wonder.
What are you thinking, Fordham?
That it's time for an experiment. I'm going to need a tool, however. Something long and thin should do the trick.
Shouldn't be too hard to find something like that around here.
Petit Pouic qui a dit oui. J'ai dit quick. Pas dit petit Pouic. Et le jeu botte bien. C'est cool.
Relation of Mrs. Hambrook?
I can see the resemblance. Sort of.
Il y a un vrai mood, quoi. Je sais pas hein, ce que vous en pensez, mais...
Seems to be the broken pot storage area.
Why not just throw them away, I wonder?
It's likely they're going to be repaired. I noticed some faint cracks in some of the pots downstairs. I would imagine that keeping a consistent temperature in here is important for the flowers.
When do you suppose this contraption was last serviced?
Hard to say. Definitely not recently, if the dust buildup is any indication. I've seen this type of device before. It's a special container for growing plants. Specific temperature and water conditions can be adjusted. Seems to be empty right now, though. And judging by the dust, it hasn't been used in a long time, if ever.
It seems Mrs. Hambrook isn't too fond of steam tech, or just doesn't understand it.
Unmarked, but if the smell is anything to go by, this is where the flowers are stored when delivered.
I'll keep my distance then.
I don't think this window would serve as a viable means of entry.
It's a nice view.
Je sais pas si on va pouvoir faire
You
le
can
tour.
hardly see the vomit and manure piles on the street from up here.
On va redescendre, je pense.
A pastoral landscape. Definitely nowhere near here.
I've never much understood art, but it would be nice to see a place like that in person.
C'est ouf, ils ont une conversation pour chaque truc. Hein.
Bill?
What's going on, Miles?
The gap in the window upstairs is intriguing.
Do you think it might be the point of entry?
Indeed. I just need to find something long and thin to confirm my theory.
I think you were born with something like that, Miles.
You're just
I know. That's why I always do the dirty work.
Mais dis donc, Bill.
I've heard of honor among thieves, but have you ever known a thief to pay for stolen goods?
Perhaps conducting normal business is just too boring for him. Do you think he might be doing it for the thrill?
There could be any number of reasons. The best way to find out is to catch the culprit and ask him ourselves. You ever miss living out here, Bill?
About as much as you missed stepping in that pile of horseshit last week.
I was distracted by that story you were telling me about your sister. How's she doing out west, anyway?
Well, she's not in the chum, so fantastic. Living here was about as fun as wearing a vest made of meat to a dogfight. I'm glad we both managed to get out. Oh, and by the way, Miles, You didn't do such a great job of cleaning your shoes.
That would explain all the funny looks I've been getting. Still feeling rough, Bill?
Yes, but I'll feel better once this case is finished and we can go down to the Angel for a pint or 4.
Hair of the dog?
No better medicine.
What's your impression of dear old Mrs. Hanbrook?
I like her. Good old-fashioned, tough-as-nails chumley woman. Reminds me of my mother.
Your mother was never quite so stubborn. Why do you suppose she's so reluctant to accept our help?
It's a chum thing, Miles. You wouldn't understand.
Pourquoi il y a Roy himself?
When's the last time you took any time
Ah,
off?
ok.
That's a good question. What year is this again?
I think we've both been working a bit too much lately. Addie's been wanting to go visit her mother in Dixon. Maybe we can all go.
That sounds nice, but I wouldn't want to be a third wheel on a visit to your in-laws. Unless... Would Adelaide's brother be there by any chance?
You're incorrigible, Bill.
It's one of my finer qualities.
Got any opinions on the upcoming election?
I'll just be glad when it's all over. Seems like the last few months have been nothing but people giving opinions and telling me what to do without a moment's peace.
I know what you mean. I already saw some kids putting up Atwood posters down my street.
I already drew mustaches in all the ones on my street.
Handlebar?
You know me too well.
I always thought of Atwood as more of a Van Dyke type of man myself.
I can see that. Yeah. Well, there's something to do tomorrow.
2 secondes, hein, j'envoie un message. Hop. Voilà. Ah mais il est
You
encore.
enjoying this weather? It's a nice evening for it, not
Je
too
vais
hot.
tous les faire,
I
hein.
find a bit of fresh air always helps clear out the mental cobwebs.
It's just too bad the air in the chum is about as fresh as a week-old corpse. At any rate, it'll be winter before you know it. The whole city will be shut down and we'll be digging bodies out from under the snowbanks.
Always something to look forward to. The ferry ride over was surprisingly uneventful, don't you think?
I know. It doesn't really feel like a visit to the chum without seeing at least one fist fight. Ah well, there's always the ride back.
Let's get back to it.
All right.
Ah, on a fini les conversations, mais c'était intéressant. Hein. J'aime bien, j'aime bien. Est-ce qu'on peut double-cliquer pour aller plus vite? Oh, on peut double-cliquer pour aller plus vite. C'est donc officiellement un très bon jeu. On peut pas aller derrière? Je pensais qu'on pouvait aller derrière. Je suis disappointed. Bon voilà, il y a un crochet. On prend un crochet de ça là. C'est pas mal.
Aha! This hook is exactly what I need. Mrs. Hanbrook, may I borrow this hook for a few minutes? It's crucial to our investigation.
Is that so?
Yes, I promise I'll put it back as soon as I'm done.
Please do, Detective.
Parfait. Allons-y. Ça va peut-être le faire tout seul en fait. Attendez.
Good. Bill, it's time for our experiment.
Trop bien.
And what is this experiment going to be exactly?
Simple. I'm going to see if this hook can get me inside the shop. Rather dark out here.
Watch your step then.
Cette
This
tête derrière.
experiment of yours isn't worth a broken neck.
I'll be fine. Now then.
Oh, c'est parti. Hop là.
Well, I'd say this is fairly incontrovertible proof that the building can easily be broken into without arousing suspicion.
Where'd you learn how to do that anyway?
You taught me, remember?
Nah. Are you sure it was me?
Positive. We were a few pints in at the Angel about 5 years ago, and you decided I should learn how to pick locks.
What else have I taught you how to do while drunk?
That would be telling.
Donc, on va trouver comment il rentre. Madame. Il est là, l'assistant.
Trevor.
Trevor, va falloir que tu t'expliques.
I've got the order ready to bring in.
Trevor, these
Ah
are
non, c'est pas lui.
Detectives Fordham
Cool.
and Leger. They say there's been a report about the burglaries, and they're here investigating.
I only did it because I think it's been going on too long. As much as you want to, we can't handle this ourselves.
We can discuss the matter later. In the meantime, the detective would like a word with you.
I'll be needing to bring in the flowers first, if that's all right. Otherwise, some hooligan's likely to run off with them.
My partner will keep an eye on your flowers. Bill, would you mind?
Ah, the glamour of police work.
Now, Mr. Hastings, if I could ask you a few questions.
Go on, then.
What can you tell me about the recent burglaries?
I wish Cecilia had contacted you a lot sooner. She's a damn fine woman. But sometimes I think she'd rather jump in a rose bush than ask for help. Had to take matters into my own hands. This needs taken care of, and we can't do it on our own, as much as Cecilia would like to. Anyhow, alls I know is someone's been making off with some flowers and leaving money behind. No idea who it could be, how they're getting in, or why they even bother paying. In my day, if you robbed a place, you did it the right way. It's a sad state of affairs when even burglars don't do their jobs correctly.
Do you have much experience with burglary, Mr. Hastings?
Now, I never said that, detective.
Have you noticed anyone or anything suspicious around here recently?
Nothing but the usual roughnecks, ragamuffins, and drunkards. Like I said, it's a real mystery.
Could you walk me through the process of your deliveries?
Of course. There's no great science to it. On Monday, Wednesday, and Friday afternoons, Cecilia gives me her list of flowers to pick up from the wholesalers. I head over to Gascon around sunset when they get their shipment, and I give them her order. They load up the crate, I pay for it, and then I lug it back here.
How long does that take?
Between moving the crate and getting it across the river on the ferry, a couple of hours. Usually the store's closed by then, so I use my key to get in and leave the crate inside for Cecilia to open in the morning. That's all there is to it. Told you it wasn't very complicated.
Do you ever leave the crate unattended during that time?
No, sir. Never more than a minute. I may be old, but I got good eyes. I'd see if there were anything amiss. Besides that, I check to make sure the crate is still sealed when I drop it off. I'm not about to let Cecilia down by being careless.
How long have you been working for Mrs. Hanbrook?
Been about 10 years now, I reckon. I used to help with deliveries now and then when it was her and David, her husband. But after he passed, she offered to make me her assistant. Unfortunate way to get it, but I needed the work. Used to be I had a job at one of the airship yards, but they let me go after I was injured by one of those newfangled steam machines. So the offer came at a good time. Besides that, Cecilia needed looking after, even though she'd never admit it. If I'm being honest, we're both getting a bit long in the tooth. Not sure how much longer we'll be keeping this up, but as long as I'm upright and breathing, I'll be bringing these crates along, even if it is murder on my back.
I admire your work ethic.
I've got a job to do. Not enough people these days seem to respect that.
Thanks for your time, Mr. Hastings. I'll let you get back to work.
Appreciate it, Detective. If you don't mind, Detective, I still need to check the crate before I bring it in.
Of course. Thank you again for your help.
Learn anything?
Possibly. I may have an idea.
Ah, you're being cryptic. That's always a good sign. But if you've got a plan, let's talk about it.
On va se
Got a
cacher.
minute, Bill?
For you, Miles,
On peut se
I've got
cacher dans les
5.
crates.
Right. Based on what we've been told in our experiment, I can only conclude that our burglar is using the upstairs window to get into the shop.
So what do you propose we do about it?
It's happened repeatedly over the past 3 weeks, on one of the delivery nights.
Et c'est une
It has
delivery
yet to
night
occur
là.
this week, and today is Friday. Logic dictates it should be tonight.
So we settle in and wait to see if the burglar returns? Catch him in the act?
Oui.
Exactly. It's our best chance of solving this before the trail goes cold.
I was really looking forward to getting that drink at the Angel tonight, too.
Possible.
I know, but it's
C'est
as you
funny,
said
Bill.
yourself, there'll be plenty of other opportunities. Besides, forbearance is good for the soul.
Spoken like someone who truly has no idea how to have any fun.
I'm sure I'll get the hang of it one of these days, especially with your expert tutelage.
Okay, let's go have a chat with Mrs. Hambrook. I'm sure she'll be delighted to know we're spending the night.
Oh, ils sont cachés, j'avais dit.
Forgot to bring my deck of cards again.
At least it's quiet up here. I'm surprised we didn't go deaf after the last time we did this.
What?
I said... Oh, right. Your sense of humor remains on point.
Miles, have you ever considered leaving all this behind?
What, you mean quitting the force?
The force, the city, going off and seeing what else is out there, you know?
I'd miss it too much. Wouldn't you?
I was thinking I might visit Harley out west. She makes it sound like a dream in her letters. Wide open spaces, fresh air. I know I'm a city boy and would probably miss New Britannia's filth and squalor after a week, but...
You should do it. A change of scenery never hurt anyone. Plus, it's much easier for you than it is for me. I've got a family to consider, after all.
Ah, right.
Oh, no, I didn't mean it like that, Bill. It's just...
Shh. I think I heard something. Oh, no.
Bill? Stop! Police!
Oh, l'allergie.
He's got up the fire escape. We can corner him on the roof. Stay close and keep me covered.
Let's go. Je sens que Billy va s'en prendre une.
Bill!
Bah voilà.
Stay back, officer. Got a knife. Ready your pistol for him.
But you're too close!
I trust you, Miles. Your pistol, now! There's really no need for this, officer. I respect your desire to uphold justice. Mine is more important. If you let me go, I won't come back. And we can all forget this ever happened. Don't listen to this lunatic, Miles. Take your shot before things get worse.
C'est trop dur. Oh non. Bah normalement faut pas tirer quoi, mais faut pas que Billy meure. Je suis sûre que Billy meurt dans toutes les situations. On va la jouer chill.
Look, we've caught you red-handed. Put down the knife, let my partner go, and give yourself up.
No! I'm not going to jail. Do you know what they do to people in there?
Yes, I do. If you cooperate, I'll see if I can get the judge to ease your sentence.
I appreciate your tactics, Fordham, but this really isn't the time.
Come on, all you've really done is taken some flowers. You're not a killer. Don't make things worse for yourself.
You don't know anything about me. But one thing's for sure. I'm not going to jail. So let me go free, or else your partner is going over the side. Fordham, this madman clearly can't be reasoned with. Take your shot, now!
Bah non, je vais pas lui tirer dessus. Ça dépend où je tire quoi. Si je tire dans la tête, ça sert à rien.
Okay, we'll look the other way just this once. Just let my partner go.
Fordham, are you insane?
Bill, don't! Bill! Bill! Oh, God! I am so sorry, my friend. I am so sorry.
Bah super. De toute façon, il mourrait dans tous les cas, c'est sûr. C'est toute l'idée du truc en fait. Il venait de dire ouais, je partirais bien. T'as jamais pensé à quitter ce métier?
Miles, wake up! Your house is on fire!
Huh? What?
You see, I told you it was funnier when I did it to you.
Yes. Hilarious.
What's the matter? Have a rough night?
Overdid it on the soporific. Why do I feel like I've had this conversation before?
I'm just glad you're in the mood to converse again. Seriously, you took so much of that snake oil last night, I was starting to think you wanted me quiet for good.
Du coup, je pense qu'il est en... genre dans sa tête.
It's no personal slight. I just need some quiet time, or I'll go insane.
I get it. We all need our space. I know it's not easy, but there's really no need.
Not easy. Bill, I've been hearing your voice since you died. You don't shut up unless I take that accursed medicine. I'd say that qualifies as a bit more than not easy.
Yeah, well, how do you think I feel? You think I enjoy being trapped here, listening to you whine about how hard your life's become? You at least still have yours.
I'm losing my grip on reality, and it's all because of you.
Believe me, I know. It's not a pretty situation. But the bottom fact is, you're stuck with me. So you can either keep living this way and ruin your life even more than you already have, or you can do as I've told you and try to figure out a way to let me move on.
Right. For the 1000th time, you want me to find the burglar from the flower shop.
Yes, exactly.
I still don't get how that's going to help.
I've told you several times, although to be fair, if you actually listened to me, I'd still be alive. At any rate, you wouldn't have been in that situation in the first place if not for him. Once the criminal has been caught and is in custody, we'll both get what we want.
A decent night's sleep?
More than that, you'll have that elusive thing you always wanted to give others. Closure.
You do realize the trail's pretty much frozen at this point. Our man has seemingly vanished into the ether.
That's no excuse not to keep trying. I know the cases Upton's been giving you these past few months haven't been the most thrilling, but they've at least kept you active. So just keep at it. Something has to turn up eventually. Unless, of course, you want to wind up in Riverview Asylum. And if that happens, I'm really not going to keep quiet.
Fine.
Good man. Now, I suggest you stop talking to thin air, or Adelaide's gonna start wondering if you've gone mental. Or just maybe, she'll stop wondering.
Very funny.
I always like that self-portrait of Adelaide's mother, even if the eyes do always follow you around the room.
Du coup, il a plein de trucs à nous raconter, l'autre. Bon, je pense pas qu'on ait besoin de faire l'historique de tout ce qui est autour.
Ah, that poster brings back some memories. That's from around the time you two met, isn't it?
Yes, back when Addie was singing at the Angel.
Juste de faire un truc. Il y a des succès. Ah oui, oui, il y a des succès. Du coup, en vrai, il y a plein de succès d'interagir avec les trucs.
Adelaide's mother certainly enjoyed pressing flowers. Do you suppose she does more of it now that she's retired? Cozy little winter getaway. That would be a welcome change from the winters in this city.
Du coup, on va tout lire.
Last performance. She could really bring the house down. You should have let me be buried wearing my hat. At least it wouldn't be gathering dust like it is now.
If I'd done that, it would be dust right now.
Heh, fair point. Wouldn't you say it's time for a change of clothes, Miles? You've been wearing that coat for who knows how long.
So? Addie gave it to me. Besides, it gives me character.
Right. Brooding detective in a long black coat. That's never been seen before.
What are you talking about, Bill?
Never mind. Pretty, but I'm glad I don't have a sense of smell anymore. That's a fun little apparatus Adelaide got you. Very soothing.
Watching it spin long enough puts me right to sleep.
I'd say that's really more the soporifics doing. Remember, before you started taking that, you were a lot more fun. I'm certain.
On va pas écouter tous les blablas sur chaque truc.
Don't worry, Miles.
It would be nice if you didn't spend the whole time humming.
I thought you appreciated some romantic music.
En vrai, ça c'était marrant. Qu'est-ce qu'il fait?
Miles, care to explain what you're doing?
Just checking to make sure everything that needs to be in here still is.
Right. If you start taking that stuff during the day, you're really going to have problems. It's admirable just how organized Adelaide is.
Ok, on a tout fait. Un peu de succès. Ça vaut pas le coup.
Well, look who's awake. Ready to rejoin the living?
Very much so.
You were talking in your sleep again.
Did I say anything interesting?
Do you ever?
You have to admit, she's got you there.
How are you feeling?
A touch groggy. I think I took a bit too much of the soporific last night.
That's what I thought. When you went for your after-lunch nap, you'd barely gotten breakfast down. I saved you some bread and cheese if you're hungry.
Thank you, but I haven't got much of an appetite.
You really should regulate your doses more carefully, love. I'm sure dull senses and an empty stomach aren't much help to your work. By the way, a message arrived via courier for you this morning. I put it on the table along with today's newspaper.
Thank you, dear.
I always liked that painting. It's impossible to see that kind of scenery here in the city. It might do you some good to look in the mirror a bit more often, Miles. I can see why Adelaide calls that plant Miles Jr. It's a spitting image. You remember how much time Adelaide had to spend convincing you to sit for this? At least these days, with ferrotype tech advancing the way it is, these portraits can be done in just a matter of minutes. Adelaide's father certainly had an amazing life. Imagine being the personal barber to the Prime Minister and his family. The gossip and secrets he must have heard. Building those model ships was a good way to pass the time between cases. Hopefully it'll be a while before you get enough time to build another one. How are your parents doing these days? It's been ages since you wrote them. Didn't I give you two that clock as a wedding present?
Il y a un commentaire à faire sur chaque item, hein, c'est fou.
Ah, the Havisham case. Our first time out as partners. First in a long line of successful cases. It's nice to have a memory of the good old days. I'd love to see the look on Snelling's face if he ever found out you kept your old truncheon. Bollingworth Ale, my favorite! And a nice souvenir from the Angel. You really ought to go back there someday. It's been so long
Je
since
triple la durée de vie, les gens.
Did you even notice when Adelaide got rid of the chair?
Addie?
Yes, dear?
How are you? It feels as though we haven't seen much of each other these past
Il
few
prend pas
days.
soin de lui, hein.
I've been fine.
Addie, you're not a very good liar. What's on your mind?
I'm worried about you, Miles.
I know, but I've told you, there's no need to worry about me. I'm all right.
You're not all right, Miles. I may not be a good liar, but you can't fool me either.
I am all right. What do I have to do to convince you of that?
You could start by throwing out that sleeping medicine. It's turned you into a different person.
I needed to sleep, Addie. I'll become an even worse person without it, believe me.
I know Bill's death was hard for you. It was hard for all of us. But whatever it is that's bothering you, you know you can talk to me about it. That's what I'm here for.
I know, my love. Your support means the world to me. I need some time to deal with things. That's all. It won't always be like this, I promise.
Making promises you can't keep, eh, Miles? That'll end well.
I've still got that song you sang last week at the Rutherford stuck in my head. You were amazing.
Thank you, Miles. That was a lovely evening. I always enjoy it when Joseph brings out his violin and we can relive the old days.
Certainly nicer than when he spends hours telling the exact same story whenever you visit.
They were very glad to see you, you know.
It's probably the most fun I've had in months, to be honest.
They've invited us for dinner again in a couple of weeks, if you're feeling up to it.
I hope I am. What's that you're reading?
It's a collection of short stories by James Penstroke. It was just published earlier this month.
Any good?
Oh yes, I love his work. He's been publishing a new serial in Brentwell magazine. I can't wait to read it. Perhaps we both can together? I think you'd enjoy him.
Lately, I haven't been able to concentrate on a page for more than 5 minutes without nodding off.
That is a pity.
How's work going? Do you have any appointments today?
Yes, one this evening. It's been a bit slow lately, but pretty soon it'll be debutante ball season, and all the Gascon grand dames will need their hair done. You sure I can't convince you to let me give you a little trim? You've been looking awfully scruffy lately.
What's the point? I've got no need to go peacocking around town. You're the only girl for me.
I like it when you're clean cut. It brings out your eyes.
The way my eyes have been looking lately, I think it's best to keep them hidden. I'll let you get back to your book.
D'abord le newspaper. Alors. Finalement. Alors. Ok, donc une grosse affaire en plus. Faut qu'on aille au café.
Does she go into any more detail than that?
No, but then you know Upton. Always on a need-to-know basis. Especially since she's been giving me these
Je savais
cases
pas
under
que
the
Upton
table.
était
To be fair, they
un
haven't
chic.
exactly been anything of note.
True, but she's still sticking her neck out for me. I can understand why she's so secretive about it.
Je crois que c'était un
I
gars.
think she just misses having you around the station.
Poor Connie. With you quitting and me dying, she must be bored stiff at work.
Anyway, I'm supposed to meet her at the ruined coffee house. That can't be right.
It's not like Constance to make mistakes. She must have gotten in somehow.
Guess I'll head over there and see what she's got then.
Eh ben, allons-y.
Have a lovely day, Addie.
Give my regards to Constance.
Ah, the Rouen Coffee House. Worst Java in Lamplight City, but there's no better place to overhear all the rumors and gossip in town. Just make sure you don't get too close to the other patrons. Discretion was never your forte. Self-Portrait as a Desperate Man by B. Calvert. A bit like looking in the mirror, isn't it, Miles? Dr. Tennyson's Vigor Pills. Absolutely guaranteed to restore vitality, youth, and vigor or your money back. For use by men only. These things seem to have had a spike in popularity recently. Green's Sulfur
C'est
Salt
pas les mêmes.
beautifies the complexion and leaves you smelling fresh as a daisy. Talk about false advertising. I couldn't get a date for a week after using that stuff. Dr. W.S. Sales Wonder Tonic. The best and safest medicine for both gentlemen and ladies. Prevents consumption, general weakness, feverishness, indigestion, constipation, diarrhea, loss of appetite, flatulence, and head pain. They should also mention that it prevents breathing, heartbeats, and being alive. Professor Xander Colt Tit III's emulsified soporific, available at all discerning pharmacies. I really don't know why you think taking that rat piss every night is a good idea for them. Simon Banks, professional chimney sweep. Services start at 2 coppers per hour. Inquire at 305 Merrick Lane. I'm sure he's a lovable urchin, but thankfully, your chimney is clean. P.D. Preston's patented papier-mâché perambucat. Handsomely upholstered in silk, satin, or velvet, and hand-painted in the most artistic manner, as shown in engraving. I suppose if you and Adelaide ever finally decide to have children, something like this will come in handy. All that metal and tubing just to serve a hot cup of coffee? Nice seaside land, but a cheery reminder of everyone's impending death. That whole thing about the man in the black robe, complete lie, by the way. A young woman holding a guitar. Completely the wrong way, I might add. Give me an old-fashioned tea kettle any day. Seems like they have a little something for everyone in here.
So you plan on going to the Lygia Vigil tonight?
Nah, I heard Harris is gonna be giving a speech. There's no way I could look that man in the face.
You know it's not his fault, right? I think he's getting an unfair reputation.
If he cared enough to make sure the airship was safe, it never would have crashed. He's as much at fault as anyone.
You really should go. Eliza would have wanted it, I think.
I know, you're right. I'll think about it. How are things at the steel mill?
Oh, you know, same old, same old.
Have they bought in any of the new automated machines?
Not yet, but the boss has been talking about it. Some of the boys have been talking, and they ain't happy about the idea.
Well, you didn't hear this from me, but I heard the Redites are gonna be making some moves very soon.
The Redites? I thought they was just a story.
Oh no, they's real all right. But this ain't the place to be talking about them. Forget I said anything.
Just one of many patrons contributing to the oppressive thug in here.
Have you been hearing about...
Asleep at a coffee house. One of
Elle est là, Constance.
If it isn't my old friend, up to no good.
Hello, Fordham. It's good to see you.
How did you get them to let you in here?
It's rather simple, really. The owner and I have an understanding. He pretends women are allowed in coffee houses, and I don't report his unsavory business practices to Chief Snelling.
Sounds like a good deal. What sort of unsavory business practices are we talking about?
Oh, we haven't got time to get into that now. But take some advice. Don't order anything that isn't water.
I got your message. What's going on?
It's time for you to join the big boys again, Fordham. Your days of finding lost cats are over.
So stop teasing me and tell me what it is already.
Do you know Madame Laura Dupre?
Laura Dupre? She's one of those Gascon Grand Dames, isn't she?
That's right. I'm surprised you've heard of her. I didn't think you cared about those types of people.
I don't, but Adelaide has several of them as clients. She gets paid to pretend to care about their lives, and I get to hear the sordid details.
Madame Dupre died the day before yesterday. Her funeral was held this morning.
My condolences.
But halfway through the service, the mourners heard a loud knocking coming from inside her coffin.
She wasn't dead?
Apparently not. Nearly interred alive, although her doctor swears she had no pulse. Dupre's son Andrew was quick to suspect foul play. He accused a man named Albert Martin, and the police arrested him.
So where do I come in? Sounds like the case has already been solved.
I strongly suspect that Martin is innocent, especially considering the talk of him having used black magic on Dupre. The police feel they have enough evidence to convict, so they're not bothering to investigate any further. You're going to look into it and see if I'm right, then find the person who was really behind this.
Has Madame Dupre recovered from her ordeal?
I'm afraid not. Apparently she's been catatonic since they pulled her out of the coffin.
How unfortunate.
If you'd like to question Mr. Martin, he's being held at the Bow Street jail. Or you could take a look around his house. It's at 451 Compton Street in Worcester.
And the Dupre home?
That's at Emmeline and Comtesse, right across from the old Angeline convent. It's also possible you might run into the police during your investigation, since they're technically still on the case.
Thanks for the warning.
Was there anything you wanted to talk about before you get started?
Yes, actually. I had a couple of questions.
Let's hear them then.
How are things going with you?
Work is hectic as usual, and I'm spending my day off in here. But considering my home life is still a shambles, maybe this is the best place to be.
I'm truly sorry about that.
Don't be ridiculous. If it hadn't been for you, I'd still be chained to that philandering bastard. It hasn't been easy, but I'm much better off this way. Trust me. Anyway, work gives me something to focus on. I'm sure you can relate to that.
Yes, and I'm grateful to you for getting me these case leads. I know you're taking a risk to do it.
It's the least I can do. How about you? How's Adelaide?
She's fine, although things between us could be improved, if I'm being honest. The less said about it right now, the better, I think.
I'm sorry to hear that. You can talk to me about it if you need to, although I'm probably not the best person to ask for relationship advice.
Don't suppose there have been any developments regarding Bill's murder?
Unfortunately not. The department hasn't exactly been focusing on that case as a priority. The general attitude is that it was an accident. Bill died an honorable death in the line of duty.
Would have been nice if they bothered saying that at the funeral.
And of course there are still those who blame you for his death, Snelling being the first and foremost.
But the man who killed him is still out there.
Yes, I know, but it looks like you're on your own if you want to find him. My hands are tied. I can only ask around so much before the higher-ups get suspicious. Just don't give up. New Britannia may be a big city, but the criminal world is surprisingly close-knit. If you find any connections or leads during your other cases, be sure and let me know. I'll do the same if I find anything out.
See, she has a priority straight. You could learn a lot from Upton.
Ouais, carrément, typique. Je trouve aussi que les doublages sont vraiment cool. Et par contre, du coup, je parle pas beaucoup. Mais en même temps, c'est comme si, comme je disais tout à l'heure, c'est comme si on suivait une série, juste, mais c'est... Voilà. Il y a le côté interactif, et on a vu tout à l'heure qu'il y avait eu des choix, et il semblerait, d'après le trailer, que ça arrive plutôt 2 fois qu'une. Bon, là, le début, je pense que quoi qu'il arrive, vous perdez Bill, ça c'est sûr.
What do you know about Madame Dupre?
Mais je pense qu'après, il y aura peut-être des embranchements, quoi.
She's been married thrice, which I can empathize with, and she's extremely rich, which I can't.
What makes you think this Martin fellow is innocent?
The fact that the only evidence is the word of Dupre's son. I've seen this sort of thing thousands of times, and I'm sure you did too. They're just looking for a scapegoat. You're the only person I know who can put it right.
Upton's intentions are noble, but she has to realize this is just a drop in the ocean.
That's enough about the case for now.
Okay.
That's it, I think.
Then you'd better get back to it.
Well, I'm not entirely sure how this is going to help you find the flower shop burglar, but I suppose freeing an innocent man is a worthy diversion. Judging by the sooty apron, this man is either a metal worker, a chimney sweep, or just really lazy when it comes to washing. He's missing his left arm below the elbow. How do you suppose that happened? He and his friend are having quite the conversation. I bet it's really boring. She's running back and forth at lightning speed. Clearly, she dips into the coffee supply. Best avoid that one. He looks like he might tip over at any moment. Reminds me of when I was alive. Ah, good time.
Et alors là, justement, j'ai le choix. Je peux aller direct chez les Dupré. Je peux aller à la prison. Je peux aller direct chez le gars. Je pense qu'aller chez le gars, c'est pas mal. Parce que la prison, qu'est-ce qu'il va me dire?
Ah, Compton Street. We're not too far from Restaurant Row. When's the last time you ate, anyway?
Please, let's not add eating to the list of things to nag me about.
Considering how many eating establishments are in this neighborhood, the butcher picked a fantastic spot to set up shop. I do notice a distinct lack of stray cats in this neighborhood, though. One of Atwood's re-election posters, sorely lacking a mustache. Go on, Miles. Fix this grievous injustice.
Not now, Bill. There are more important things to worry about.
Spoil sport. I'm glad that Coulson still uses horses. I don't trust the new self-driving cabs.
Well, let's go.
I'm sorry, I have no time for visitors today.
I need to speak with you about Albert Martin.
Albert? Are you with the police?
No, I'm a private investigator.
Oh, I don't think you can help. I'm sorry.
Sorry to bother you. I'll be on my way.
Good day to you, sir.
Ah. Bon bah on est reparti alors. On va finalement aller à la prison.
Fordham? Is that you? You look like something the cat spat up.
Hello, Giles. It's lovely to see you too.
What brings you around the jail? I thought you'd quit being a detective.
I'm looking to speak with Mr. Albert Martin.
Oh, I see. Well, that's him in the first cell there. I'd say what needs saying as quick as you can, though. He's headed for the gallows in the morning.
What? Already? But what about a trial?
No trial necessary when there's black magic involved. This little half-breed's already sealed his fate.
Such a charming fellow, isn't he?
Vous savez, je vous parlais de ma livraison que je devais avoir entre 8h et midi aujourd'hui, qui était déjà prévue pour hier, entre 8h et midi. Je viens d'avoir un SMS comme quoi elle était pour demain, entre 8h et midi. Et je me demande jusqu'à quand ils vont repousser d'un jour comme ça, sachant que je suis chez moi. Et que j'étais présente, si jamais.
I bet that's a direct line to the police department. You should make a rude noise into it when Giles isn't paying attention. He's watching you like a hawk. Looks liable to toss you in one of his cells if you try any funny business. Either crime is low, or the police aren't doing their jobs very well.
Eh ben allons-y.
Mr. Martin?
Who are you? My lawyer?
No, I'm actually here to help you. The name's Miles Fordham. I'm a private investigator.
How are you going to help me?
I'm
Bon,
looking into
t'évitant
the
d'aller aux
attack
galères.
on Madame Dupré. I believe you're innocent.
Oh, thank heaven. That's music to my ears.
Would you mind answering a few questions for me?
Friend, if it means saving me from the noose, I'll tell you nothing less than God's truth.
Interesting choice of phrase for someone accused of using black magic.
How did you end up in here?
I was just minding my own business at home when the police showed up with no warning. They made some outrageous claims about me putting some sort of curse on Madame Dupré. The next thing I knew, I was here. Oh, Mama must be beside herself with worry. I just hope she's all right.
What does your mother do, Mr. Martin?
She helps people.
I was hoping you'd be just a bit more specific.
She provides spiritual help to those who seek guidance.
She's a spiritualist.
Not quite. She's more like... how can I explain it? You know how a priest holds mass to spread the word of God to the people? My mother holds services and calls on the spirits to walk among us, providing healing and guidance.
So she's a religious leader?
If you want to give her that title, it would be the most appropriate.
And does this religion of yours have a name?
You'd probably know it as voodoo, but it doesn't mean what you think it does. People are so quick to judge and portray us as evil when they have no idea.
Ça me fait penser à Voodoo, il y a un jeu qui vient de sortir qui s'appelle Voodoo Détective. Tiens, je vais vous montrer parce que c'est dans le même délire. Je le laisserai même dans la rediff, je pense. Voodoo Détective, très l'œil. Hop. Ici même. Comme ça. Et comme ça.
If you're looking for adventure, you will find it in Voodoo Detective. There's no case he won't take.
I can offer you a $200 advance, plus expenses.
For that kind of cabbage, I'd voodoo investigate most.
C'est un peu le même style, hein?
No mystery he won't
Mais
investigate.
récent.
Dining alone?
Plus récent.
Who did you say you were again?
No crime he can't solve.
I'm on to you, Crumsford. You can't hide from justice.
How did you get into my office?
And now he takes on his most puzzling point-and-click adventure yet. A mysterious client with an unforgettable case of amnesia.
You lost your memory, huh? Did you check the couch cushions?
There's action, romance, voodoo, and more. Starring
Même délire, full voice cast, machin. En vrai, c'est le même style, hein.
Available May 24th.
Ah ouais, c'est sorti la semaine dernière. Hop. Comme ceci. Voodoo Détective. Et également... J'arrive mais écoute, parce que je l'ai pas encore pris. 12,50 €. Et c'est bon, c'est le prix de tous les jeux que je vous fais. Ah par contre, il est aussi pas traduit en français. C'est un peu dommage pour streamer tout ça. Parce que moi, ça me dérange pas. Ils ok. Mais c'est vrai que je préfère quand tout le monde peut comprendre ce qui se passe.
So you practice voodoo, do you?
Are you making fun of me, Mr. Fordham?
No, of course not. Apologies if it seemed as though I was. It's just that the police are convinced that black magic was involved in Madame Dupre's apparent death.
That's because that idiot son of hers knew about my mother, and like all bigoted fools, assumed that we're involved in devil worship and the black arts. But I can assure you that this is most certainly not the case, Mr. Fordham.
Of course, I didn't mean to imply.
Just forget it.
What can you tell me about Madame Dupre?
What's to tell? She's a twisted, evil woman who got what was coming to her. Whoever attacked her deserves some sort of reward for the service they're doing the community.
So it wasn't you then?
No, I'm innocent, Mr. Fordham. You have to believe me.
I'm afraid you're not making that very easy right now, Mr. Martin.
Je pense qu'on va essayer de résoudre cette affaire, si on peut. Et comme ça fera la découverte avec le prologue, avec la mort de Bill et cette affaire.
Do you know anything about the circumstances of Madame Dupre's supposed death?
No, I had nothing to do with it.
Then why did her son accuse you?
Probably because he's just as ignorant as she is.
What I meant was, how did her son know to accuse you? Have you had any contact with the family before?
Yes, you could say that.
Uh-oh. That gleam in his eye says it all.
You see, I'm involved with Dupre's daughter, Juliette Montgomery.
Ah.
Dupre doesn't like that one bit. She even threatened me once.
Is that right?
Yes. She might have everyone else fooled, but that woman is the devil incarnate. I can't understand how something so heartless and cruel could have spawned someone as pure and loving as my dear Juliette.
He's not really helping his case much, is he?
Tell me about Juliette.
She's wonderful.
Juliette.
Such a beautiful, kind soul. She hasn't come to see me yet, but I'm sure that's because of all the confusion in the last few days. Juliette wouldn't believe for a second that I would be capable of harming her mother. I'm sure of it.
How did you two get involved?
We met at the university.
Your classmates?
Hardly. They wouldn't allow someone like me to enroll there. Juliet studies botany. I work as an assistant in the greenhouse. We started talking, and she actually treated me like a person. To everyone else, I was just the boy who fetched the test tubes. But Juliet actually wanted to hear what I had to say, had the same taste in books and art. Didn't just treat me like some piece of gardening equipment. She even shared some of her notes with me after I told her I was interested in botany as well. From there, things just got better. I don't expect you to understand or approve, but that's how it happened.
Oh, you'd be surprised. It doesn't sound too different to how my wife and I got together. Except I was a detective and she was a singer at a bar.
And she's...
Yes, Mr. Martin. Anyway, back to the matter at hand. How often is Juliet in the greenhouse?
Every weekday, but I doubt she's there now. She's probably trying to find out where I am and working to have me released.
Somehow, I wouldn't bet on that.
That's all for now.
Oh, wait, before you go, would you do me a favor? Would you go see my mother at our house and give her a message?
You're at 451 Compton Street, right?
Yes, that's right. Could you tell her I said St. Rock's dog is barking?
I suppose I could do that, yes.
Oh, thank you.
Whatever happened to a simple I love you?
Ok. On a plus rien à se dire?
Nothing else, Dad. He's watching you like a...
Ok, bah on va y aller. Je vais faire une petite pause et on va chez lui dire que le Saint, je sais pas quoi, Saint Rock Dog aboie. J'arrive. On est parti pour chez lui du coup. Retournons chez Brandon. Le chien aboie. La caravane passe.
You're Albert Martin's mother, aren't you?
Who are you?
Miles Fordham. I spoke with Albert, and he told me to give you a message. He said to tell you that St. Rock's dog is barking.
Trop drôle, hein, petit freak.
I see. That's good. That's very good.
Trop drôle.
You better come in, Mr. Fordham.
La typo de l'invite de l'Élysée, elle est folle. C'est tellement décalé par rapport au délire de la track make-up et tout, c'est marrant.
Welcome to my home, Mr. Fordham. I am Sabine Martin. I hope you understand that Albert has nothing to do with this.
Vous avez vu, c'est que des vraies œuvres à chaque fois.
Well, her tune certainly changed when you gave her that message. I wonder what it meant.
No, thank you, ma'am. I won't be staying long.
The Virgin Mary? I must admit she was the last person I was expecting to see in here.
J'avoue.
That pattern resembles a flower.
Après, c'est joli.
It isn't an Easter lily.
C'est plus pour la beauté du tableau, je pense.
It's some old man with a dog standing at the center of a crossroads. If that's meant to have any sort of significance, it's completely lost on me. Interesting. Those pots look as though they've been wrapped in tobacco leaves. A rather unremarkable book collection, I'm sorry to say. That statue, on the other hand, gives me the willies. For all we know, that rider is some sort of demon. He looks like he's having a good time, at least.
Oh, pardon. Je peux pas aller ailleurs? Non, que là. Hein. On va ouvrir un peu la fenêtre. Ça te dérange pas?
I'm afraid that room is private, Mr. Fordham. I must respectfully ask you to not go in there.
Of course. My apologies.
Allez, Sabine.
I've got a few questions for you, Mrs. Martin.
I'll try to answer them the best I can.
Vous l'avez compris, il y a une question d'origine hein, dans cette accusation. Ne serait-ce que le fait que la relation du coup entre le fils de elle et le fils de la personne qui accuse, du coup c'est une relation justement mixée. Et lui justement est dans une relation de ce genre. De ce genre. Je suis obligée hein, par rapport au jeu, mais c'est pas comme ça que je le...
What exactly is it you do, Mrs. Martin?
I provide services to the public.
A delightfully vague answer if there ever was one. Give me something a bit more specific, please.
I'm a mambo asugwe. That means I'm what you call a...
Mais on va le sauver. Ils vont pouvoir être amoureux. Mais j'ai peur. J'ai peur quand même. Parce que Juliette, elle est pas venue le chercher. Si Juliette n'est pas venue le chercher, est-ce qu'ils vont vraiment pouvoir live long after avoir avoir des enfants, etc. Je sais pas, ça se trouve Juliette, elle s'est juste amusée. J'espère pas. Ou alors Juliette est retenue par sa maman. J'espère que c'est ça. Il faut que Juliette et Martin puissent se retrouver.
I think I'll take you up on your offer for tea, after all.
All right, Mr. Fordham. You'll have to give me a few minutes to heat up the kettle. I'll be back shortly.
Ils ont dit que c'était quoi à l'époque? 1944 ou 1844? Je crois que c'était 1844, non? Je crois que c'était ça. De toute façon, même si c'était 1944, il y aurait ce genre de préjugés inutiles. Possible. Ah, je peux ouvrir! Oh, mais est-ce que je voulais vraiment ouvrir?
Amazing! Even more voodoo stuff back there. Why would she keep these particular items hidden from view?
Good question.
The tea should be ready in a few minutes, Mr. Fordham. You can help yourself once it's done.
You're very kind, Mrs. Martin.
Du coup, il s'appelle
I've
pas
got a few
Martin,
questions
l'autre.
for you, Mrs. Martin.
Il s'appelle comment?
I'll try to answer them the best I can.
Martin, c'est son nom de famille. Bon, continuons.
Can you tell me a bit more about your religious practices?
What I can tell you is that the ignorant whites in this city are afraid of us for no reason. Voodoo is not about black magic or dark spells or turning people into the living dead. It's about healing and life. Naturally, there are misguided souls who may try to use it for ill purposes, but I am not one of those.
Sounds like you hit a sore spot. Might be a good idea to stop pressing her on this angle.
Do you know anything about Madame Laura Dupre?
I never met her in person, but I know plenty about her.
Like what?
Nothing fit for polite conversation, Mr. Fordham. But I can tell you this. Laura Dupre has far more enemies than she lets on.
Does that include you or your son?
It most certainly does not.
Bah non.
Do you think
Albert,
your son is
c'est Albert
capable
qui
of
se
doing
parle,
what he
qui
stands accused
s'appelle.
of?
Never. Albert wouldn't harm a fly.
That's what the mothers always say.
Why don't you tell me a bit more about him then?
He started working at the university laboratory a few years ago. I was so proud of him. The university is quite selective, you know. The same for its staff as well as its students.
Yes, I've gotten that impression.
I always told Albert to be careful around those high society types, but that one always thinks with his heart first.
Is she sure that's the correct body part?
All the family I have, Mr. Fordham.
Mais non! Pourquoi il a dit ça, l'autre?
What do you know about Juliette, Madame Dupre's daughter?
I know Albert was smitten with her, no matter that I told him to be very careful around her kind. Those rich Creole families don't care much for people like us. To them, we're just a help. But from his telling, Juliet sounded to be a decent soul. It's a shame the same can't be said for her kin.
If you'll indulge my curiosity, what exactly was the meaning of Albert's message?
Saint Roch is the patron saint of dogs, as well as the falsely accused. If he sent the message along with you, it means he trusts you, and that I should too.
Oh, I see.
Perhaps you were hoping for something more? That's just the way of mysteries, isn't it?
How do you mean?
The thrill of the unknown is always more exciting than the truth. Mystery makes life a little more interesting.
True, but if mysteries were really better unsolved, I wouldn't have a job. About that back room of yours.
I beg your pardon?
I don't know about this, Miles. Is this really a road you want to go down?
Non, je pense pas que ce soit nécessaire. Son fils n'est même pas coupable et tout. Je pense pas qu'elle ait voulu défendre son fils ou quoi. Pas d'intérêt. Je pense qu'en vrai, ni elle ni son fils sont impliqués. Et je pense qu'on veut leur faire porter le chapeau parce que bah on profite justement des...
Actually, never mind. I misspoke. Thank you for your help.
My pleasure.
Des préjugés qu'il peut y avoir dans le quartier. Moi, je pensais ça.
Tea, Mr. Fordham?
Ah oui?
I'm afraid I just remembered something important I need to look into. Perhaps later.
Suit yourself.
J'ai oublié mon thé. Je peux aller à l'université? Je peux aller chez l'autre? Ah, j'irais bien chez l'autre un peu.
You are aware this is private property, sir?
Si, ils sont agréables.
Yes, I'm Miles Fordham, private investigator. I'm looking into the incident involving Madame Dupré. I assume this is she?
You assume correctly, Mr. Fordham. My apologies, but I thought the police had already made an arrest.
That's right, but there's still some doubt as to the man's guilt. May I ask your name, sir?
I am Dr. Fellows, Madame Dupré's private physician. I'm afraid she is in no state to be answering questions at present.
Are any other members of the family home?
Her son, Mr. Montgomery, is in the entrance hall. I had to give him a mild sedative to settle his nerves, but he should be all right to converse.
Then if you don't mind, I'll have a look around. Doctor, may I ask you a few questions?
Please, be my guest.
How long have you been Madame Dupré's private physician?
5 years, and I've been practicing medicine for the past 30. I still spend a couple of days a week treating patients at Riverview Asylum.
Oh, good. Maybe if you're lucky, he could be your doctor someday.
30 years is quite a long time. You must have seen some incredible advances in the field of medicine.
I have, yes. I can only wonder how things will change with all this talk of ethericity. There's speculation it can be used to restore necrotic tissue and instantly heal broken bones, among other things. If you ask me, a good bloodletting will never go out of fashion.
Tell me about Madame Dupré.
She is a great woman and a pillar of the community. I cannot imagine why something like this could happen to her, or how someone could be capable of such a barbaric feat. Though this ordeal has been terrible, I am confident she will overcome. The power of her physical constitution is surpassed only by her strength of character.
Do you think he'd say the same things if he wasn't on her payroll? I highly doubt it.
Did you examine Madame Dupré after she reanimated?
Of course. Physically, she appeared to be in fine health aside from minor dehydration. I found no marks or bruising on her body. Mentally is a different story, however. She's remained in an unresponsive state ever since.
Do you have any opinions on what caused Madame Dupré to appear dead?
The most likely cause I can imagine is some sort of poison or toxin.
Yep.
What were the circumstances surrounding Madame Dupré's supposed death?
Her son, Andrew, sent for me a few days ago after finding her unconscious and unresponsive. As I was unable to detect
C'est peut-être le fils, hein?
I had no other recourse but to declare her deceased. I judged that Madame Dupré had likely suffered a sudden cardiac arrest. It was most shocking to be proven wrong at a funeral.
I can imagine. Where was the funeral held, by the way?
St. Denis Cemetery. Madame Dupré wished to be interred in the tomb of her father's family, name of Chesterton.
Perhaps I'll go have a look. What leads you to believe Madame Dupré was poisoned?
The symptoms she experienced were consistent with prior cases of poisoning I've studied. And didn't the young man arrested have ties to some kind of black magic cult? There have been reported cases of these practitioners using poisons to make people appear dead, then commanding them to do their bidding. I recall reading about a man in the West Indies who was given tetrodotoxin, that's the toxic secretion from a pufferfish, declared dead, and he appeared alive in his village some 20 years later.
Doesn't that seem a bit far-fetched to
J'en
you,
parle juste
Doctor?
après, mais...
Facts are facts, Mr. Fordham. Surely someone in your line of work can appreciate that.
J'ai vu un épisode de...
Those are all the questions I've got for now.
I hope I answered them adequately.
Astrid et Raphaël, qui est une série française. Et il y a un épisode de Astrid et Raphaël dans la saison 2 où il y a un mec qui revive, quoi, de la table de préparation où il est censé être embaumé avant d'être mis dans le cercueil. Et c'est la toxine du fameux... comment il s'appelle, Puffelfish, là, Puffelfish, le poisson qui gonfle. Et qu'il y a que quelques chefs japonais qui peuvent préparer ce poisson. D'ailleurs, il n'y a peut-être pas que des japonais, vous me direz. Mais c'est un poisson, en fait, il est hautement toxique, sauf si on le prépare parfaitement et tout, son sang est toxique. Oui, c'est ça, c'est le fugu. Et j'ai regardé un... c'est trop marrant parce que du coup, j'ai vu une affaire policière en série, là, qui était exactement ça. Et là, en vrai, c'est le même délire. Et ils parlent de la même chose.
This fountain probably looked nicer when it was working, but right now it's just a breeding ground for mosquitoes. With her vast sums of wealth, Madame Dupré could probably feed a starving family for the next 30 years. Instead, She uses the money to keep her hedges trimmed.
Je me rappelle même plus ce que c'était dans la série, la conclusion du truc. Mais bon, c'était l'idée, quoi. C'est-à-dire qu'il y avait des gens qui le faisaient illégalement et du coup, bah, la personne en a profité pour se procurer du poison.
Her eyes are glazed over and she's got a vacant, expressionless stare. She seems completely oblivious to her surroundings. If we didn't know she'd been buried alive, I'd say she was just exhibiting the typical symptoms of your average rich person.
C'est quoi le nom?
Oh, hello. Are you the new servant?
Oh
No, I'm Miles
c'est le
Fordham.
fils.
I'm a private
Non mais c'est sûr
investigator
c'est
looking
lui.
into your mother's attempted murder.
How did you know I was her son? Oh, of course. You must have sensed it with your detective's intuition. I should have guessed by that giant head of yours.
On est dans un épisode de Jojo.
Yes, I'm fine. Much better than when those pesky police officers were snooping around earlier. But I like you, Mr. Fordham. I can already tell you're not like them at all. Please, call me Andrew.
Yes, well, I'll have a look around and I may need to ask you some questions. Do you think you can handle that?
I can. In fact, I really look forward to it.
If the good doctor gave him a mild sedative, I'd hate to see what the stuff you take would have done to him. Dupre looks like she's holding on to that poor bastard for dear life. What a beautiful parrot. Must have cost the Dupre's a cool copper.
Oh, je le sens bien, il va nous balancer des trucs, le parrot.
So long, Birdie.
Bye-bye.
Ah bah d'accord.
Who's a pretty bird?
Ray's a pretty bird.
Polly want a cracker?
No, thank you.
Pieces of 8?
Bye, matey.
Who's a pretty bird?
Ray.
So long.
Bon, faut qu'on parle à Adrien, Andrew.
I have some questions for you.
Oh, goody.
Il me fait peur.
How do you typically spend your days, Mr. Montgomery? What are your interests?
Oh, a little of this and a little of that. Nothing as exciting as what you do, I'm sure. Ooh, tell me, do most bad people start crying when you catch them? I'll bet it's a laugh riot to see them sobbing away.
No,
Il est pas
Mr.
bien.
Montgomery, most of them don't.
Well, that's a real shame, isn't it?
That's a rather exotic bird you've got.
I like looking at him. He has such pretty colors, doesn't he?
That he does.
You know, I've always wondered what he might taste like. Is that bad, do you think?
I really couldn't say, Mr. Montgomery. What can you tell me about your sister, Juliet?
I'm reminded of a famous quote, Mr. Fordham. Parting is such sweet sorrow. Let us part on good terms and avoid the subject altogether, please.
What can you tell me about Madame Dupre?
She came back from the dead. I couldn't believe it. My mother, resurrected, just like Jesus.
Yes. I heard you're the one who accused Mr. Martin of the crime.
Oh, no, I already talked to the police about that. I don't want to think about it right now.
Thanks for your time.
No, thank you for yours.
This is ridiculous. He won't be of any use in this state. If it takes him as long to snap out of it as it takes you, we'll be waiting around here until noontime tomorrow. There has to be a way to bring him back to his senses. Maybe that quack outside knows something of use.
Ok, on va quand même aller voir le reste. Hein.
Certainly no shortage of bowls or food preparation items around here. Yeah, it looks like gumbo's on the menu tonight. I wonder how it compares with Upton's special recipe. It's times like these make me wish I could still eat. Judging by the amount of food this...
Pardon me, miss.
What? Who are you?
I'm Miles Fordham. I'm investigating the attempted murder of Madame Dupre.
Oh, I'm sorry, sir, but I'm very busy. I can't help you.
Do you know anything about what happened to Madame Dupre?
No, I don't. Please leave me to my work. I shouldn't be talking to you.
All right, I'm going.
Pas très utile. Cette madame.
Must be nice being able to afford keeping your oil lamps lit during the daytime. Nice bouquet of roses. Although it would make things much easier if they were Easter lilies.
C'est les fleurs qui ont été volées au début.
Ah, the Gascon docks. The artist definitely took some liberties. You can't see a single person getting stabbed. A horrible little porcelain figurine. Madame Dupre didn't strike me as the type to play with dolls. This is always my favorite part of detective work.
Nothing inside but a bunch of extra doilies.
How disappointing. Maybe you should steal one, just to spite Madame Dupre for not giving us any good clues.
No, Bill.
You're no fun, Miles.
Oh, y a plein d'endroits. Hein. Je vais checker un truc. Je me demande quelle est la durée de vie du jeu. Et je pense que je peux la trouver sur How Long to Beat. Même si de base aujourd'hui on fait juste une découverte. How Long to Beat, tac. Et on va mettre Lamplight City. Vu qu'il est 2018, il y a peut-être moyen qu'il y ait quand même des... Ah ouais, quand même, hein. Donc on est sur un 13-14 heures pour le jeu. En vrai, ça dépend, ils mettent main story, main plus extra. En gros, ça rajoute 3-4 heures de faire bien à fond. Donc ouais. Bonne durée de vie, 13 heures.
A much younger Madame Dupre. I suppose that's a nice alternative to a mirror. That's an old uniform, from the turn of the century by the look of it. This must be Madame Dupre's first husband. Kinda strange that she'd still keep his portrait in the bedroom.
It would appear that Madame Dupre was taking music lessons.
Her current
Oups, j'ai appuyé.
One of those melodramatic romances. Now that one sounds interesting. I was always a fan of Bedletter's shorts. Doesn't appear to be very brief if there's 2 volumes of it. Choice and content. I don't even want to know it. I read that one last year. If you ever wanted to know the intimate details of a buffalo's anatomy, I highly recommend it. Ooh, a fainting couch. You know, I always wanted one of these, but I never fainted enough to justify buying one.
Let's see if there's anything in these drawers. Damn, nothing but personal effects and more stationery.
Don't forget the first rule of detective work. If there's nothing useful inside, check underneath and between.
Ah, yes, of course. Thanks for the reminder.
Now this is intriguing.
Alors, je vais pas vous avertir à nouveau. Oh là là, c'est méchant, hein. Restez éloigné de ma fille et de ma maison, ou je vous tuerai moi-même.
You've got some huge bags under your eyes, Miles. Reminds me of the case we had on that strange train.
Don't remind me.
Bon, bah là, on a un solide truc quand même.
Seems Madame Dupre fancies herself a poet.
Ah, ça c'est un succès normalement.
Well, that was life-changing.
For once in my life, I'm completely speechless.
Then perhaps I should take this with me and read it more often. Nah.
Ah, enfin notre premier succès du jeu. Vraiment. Attendez. Il n'y a qu'un joueur sur 2 qui l'a. Je vous jure, il y a 50% des joueurs qui ont ce succès. C'est chaud. Les gens n'ont pas beaucoup poussé le jeu. Hein. Oh là, faire toutes les conversations était un des trucs. Ça se trouve, j'aurais dû continuer le vaudou du coup. Mais peut-être qu'il aurait fallu faire les autres options. Le piano va y avoir un truc, hein, c'est sûr. Toujours un truc de piano de toute façon dans ce genre de jeu. C'est la
I've never seen
base.
so many beauty products together in one place.
On est chez
Doesn't look like
Juliette
they
là,
get
non?
used much though. Juliette really likes plants and flowers, doesn't she?
Est-ce que Juliette est une voleuse de Mr. Lilies?
They're all empty. How unusual.
Not to mention disappointing. Nice little cottage. Well, someone's fancy. I never liked these types of beds much. They feel too claustrophobic.
I always thought they had a certain appeal myself.
Yes, you would think that about a bed that lets you shut out the rest of the world.
Locked. I suppose I shouldn't be surprised.
Non, mais il va y avoir une clé là-dedans, là. Je le sens. Voilà.
Goodness, someone went overboard with the flowers. This brings back some memories, doesn't it?
Ones I'd rather forget.
Oh!
The science of pharmacology. Yeah, I'm sure it's riveting stuff.
These should be useful.
I can only wonder what sort of potions Andrew concocts in this thing. Dr. Tennyson's Vigor Pills. These would make a sloth act like a hummingbird. A gentle reminder that everyone's time is slowly running out. What in the ether is that thing supposed to be? Actually, I'd rather not know. Is this really the best that medical science has to offer? Decadent. I can only wonder what sort of potions Andrew...
Ok.
Why would anyone...
Perhaps it's to mask the odors of those chemicals on the workstation.
Could be. Yeah, it must be a nice place to sit and listen to music. I don't know much about art, but I see Madame Dupre and I at least have similar tastes. Oh, look! It's one of those new audio cylindergraphs. I can't quite wrap my head around how they can manage to get sound out of a wax cylinder.
Bon. Alors, je veux bien rejouer les notes. Mais il me les faut. Est-ce que sur le poème...
Oh, dear God. Oh, dear God. No, please.
Ah mince, bon, il n'y a pas le poème. C, D, F, G, A, B, C. C, D, F, G, A, B, C. En fait, c'est normal. Ah, c'est pas mal là. Ah, c'est peut-être avec ça. Non. T'en fais beaucoup, hein? Bon, il y a un truc à faire, c'est certain. Mhm. Je vais l'interroger sur le reste.
As amusing as it is to chat with this oddball, I think we've exhausted his...
Pardon me, miss.
I told you I'm...
All right, I'm going. So long. Doctor, may I ask you a few questions?
Please be my guest.
May I ask exactly what kind of sedative you gave Andrew?
A simple tincture of laudanum. It's what I give all my nervous patients.
He seems a bit out of sorts.
Hot? Meat kettle.
It can have that effect, but it usually wears off in half a day or so.
Is there a way to bring him out of his condition sooner?
A stimulant would have the opposite effect, but I wouldn't recommend mixing the two. It could have potentially harmful effects on his heart.
Oh, of course. I wasn't planning on doing anything of the sort. I was just curious.
It's cute how you act like you have no experience in these matters. It's almost convincing.
Un stimulant, moi ça me fait aussi
Those
penser
are all the
à...
questions I've got for now.
Il y avait des piments dans la cuisine. Un petit coup de piment là, ça va le réveiller, non? Ça pourrait, hein.
If we didn't know...
Juste check, on sait jamais. Non, ça marche pas. On va aller dans les autres endroits du coup. Il y a 2 autres endroits qu'on peut visiter. Université et le cimetière. Oh, Juliette est là!
Oh, it's as though we've journeyed to the tropics. I don't know how you can stand to keep that coat on in here. Those flowers are definitely not native to this area. Quite the assortment of plants they keep in here. One of those cute little Japanese trees. I've never seen a flower grow that big. What do you suppose they're feeding them? Judging from that pipe, that contraption must be used to keep the plants hydrated. But it looks like a giant earwax remover to me.
Elle va faire suivre Juliette, hein?
Pardon the disturbance, but are you Juliette Montgomery?
I am. And you are?
Miles Fordham. I'm a private investigator looking into the events surrounding your mother's attempted murder.
Ah, of course.
Have you got time to answer some questions?
Yes, that shouldn't be a problem.
So, you study botany. Fascinating subject.
Are you an admirer of plants, Mr. Fordham?
My wife has the green thumb in the household, but I do have a certain appreciation for them.
Plants are amazing things, just like people in many ways.
How do you mean?
They need attention and care. Ignore a plant, and it will wither. Give it too much attention, and it will become sick. Plants have many things to teach us, and I greatly enjoy learning from them.
These plants are impressive. Are they yours?
Yes, I've developed a method to make them extra healthy and strong.
They're larger than anything I've ever seen. How do you do it?
Ah, but I can't reveal my secrets, Mr. Fordham. The world will hear about my discoveries soon enough.
Incidentally, do you know anything about Easter lilies?
No, I don't keep or grow those here.
Ça se trouve c'est elle, hein?
What can you tell me about your brother?
Andrew, Mama's precious little boy. If you've met him, you pretty much know all you need to. He's had the whole world handed to him on a silver platter. But he's in for a rude awakening someday. Mother can only provide for him for so long.
Do you know anything about the events leading up to your mother's premature internment?
No, it was a complete shock. Mother seemed to be perfectly healthy and full of life. Then, without warning, she was dead. Or so we thought.
I take it you were glad to be wrong?
What a ridiculous question. Of course I was. What sort of heartless beast would celebrate their mother's death?
Oh, I could name a few. Juliet definitely didn't shed any tears over
C'est
Madame
ça.
Dupré, though. That much is obvious.
Voilà,
Miss
Juliette.
Montgomery, you don't have to lie to me. I'm not going to assume you tried killing your mother just because you weren't upset by her death.
I felt terrible about it. You have to understand, I didn't want her to be dead. I just felt a sense of relief. Please, don't think me a horrible person, Mr. Fordham. It's just that Mother and I aren't currently on the best of terms.
What can you tell me about Albert Martin?
I'm not quite sure where to begin.
Why not start by telling me what your relationship with him was?
We met here at the greenhouse. He was working as an assistant, sweeping and cleaning and fetching things for the students. My focus was on academics, naturally. I wasn't too interested in romance. In fact, I've had to turn away nearly every single one of my classmates. But with Albert, I found myself intrigued. I noticed him stealing glances, lingering just a bit too long after bringing over a book or flask, sweeping the same patch of floor near me over and over again. It wasn't too long before I had him bringing me tools and equipment, regularly.
I see.
Mother was an absolute terror when she found out.
Do you believe Mr. Martin did what he stands accused of?
I'm not entirely sure. It doesn't seem like him, but Albert can be quite passionate. If the police believe he's to blame, then they must have a reason for it. It wasn't any secret that he hated Mother. Perhaps I should have ended things sooner. It was satisfying to know that Mother was displeased, but I never imagined it would lead to something like this.
Well, it's nice to see she's all heart.
Why don't you and your mother get along?
We've never completely seen eye to eye on anything. She always disapproved of anything I did. When I was younger, she used to forbid me from speaking to the servants. I saw no harm in a kind word or smile, but she warned us that if we were too familiar, they would take liberties. Then when I declared my intentions to pursue academic studies, she really went livid. In her opinion, a university education was tantamount to a chastity belt. What sort of man would want a wife with a head full of useless facts, she'd say.
Personally, I've always found intelligence to be quite attractive.
I'm not sure how she managed to find out about Albert and me, but when she did, she nearly had a conniption. As I'm sure you can understand, the situation at home has been less than perfect in the last few months. I'd really rather not dwell on it.
You mentioned you were friends with the servants.
Yes, that's right. I didn't care that they worked for us. Everyone needs a friend.
Did your mother ever mistreat them?
Mistreat? No, I wouldn't say so. She was always very stern, though, and quite cold. If they ever shirked their duties or misbehaved, they were punished, of course, but nothing out of the ordinary that I ever saw. Most of the servants are my friends, but I'm closest with Amelie, the kitchen maid. Mother wasn't too happy about that. Amelie's been around as long as I can remember. She's like the aunt I never had.
No more questions for now.
Then if you don't mind, I have work to do.
Ok. Bon, je pense là c'est good. On va au cimetière.
Ah, St. Denis Cemetery. Best view in the city. It's just a shame none of the residents can enjoy it. I think I'm buried around here somewhere. Wonder how the old gravestone is doing these days. Nice view of the river from up here. Looks like people have left markings and offerings in front of this tomb. You may think it's a silly superstition, but I wish you'd leave a bottle of Bollingworth at my grave every now and then. I don't know him. Must be a recent addition to the force. Well, at least he won't recognize you. If only that police officer wasn't guarding the tomb, you could go in there and raid it to your heart's content.
Good day to you, officer.
Good day, sir. How may I be of assistance?
Would you mind letting me in the tomb, please?
Afraid I can't do that, sir. This tomb is currently part of a police investigation and ain't available for visits until further notice.
But it's my dearly departed Aunt Hester's birthday today, and I always bring her flowers.
I'm sorry, sir, but I've got my orders. Come back in a few days. I can assure you, Your aunt won't have gone anywhere.
Good day to you, officer.
Afraid I... Please.
Ha.
Plaque says Harrison. Doesn't look very opulent, so I guess it doesn't belong to anyone important.
Ça il se couche, hein.
This quack hasn't gotten anything more for us to learn right now. As amusing.
Pardon me, miss.
I told you I'm...
Amelie, please. I need to know what you know about Madame Dupre.
What? How did you know my name?
Juliet told me about you.
Miss Juliet?
Yes, I spoke to her at the university. She mentioned you two were friends.
Yes, that's right. She's always been so good to me.
Look, Amelie, I'm just trying to get some information. And I have a feeling you can be very helpful if you just let me talk to you.
All right, fine. But do it as fast as you can.
Alors.
Are you the only remaining servant here?
No, there's another one. Marcel. He's the new gardener. I haven't seen him in a few days, though. Not since before Madame's incident.
Oula! C'est qui ce Marcel?
What do you know about Juliet?
She was always so kind to me and the others.
C'est qui
But
ce
the mother don't
Marcel?
like that one bit. Still, she sneaks down into the kitchen to keep me company some nights. Even though she's a good soul, I think part of her does it just to spite her mother.
Tell me about Madame Dupre.
Oh, I really shouldn't, sir.
It would greatly help my investigation if you did.
Madame Dupre was kind enough to hire me as her cook. It's hard to get jobs in the city. Lots of people want their servants to use those new machines. My sister's brother-in-law got half his leg blown off by one of those new ovens. He's lucky he wasn't killed. So I'm plenty happy working here doing real people's work. But Madam can be difficult sometimes.
Difficult? What do you mean by that?
No, I said enough.
What do you know about Madame Dupre's supposed death?
All I can tell you is that whoever did it really hated her.
Do you know Albert Martin, the man accused of the crime?
No, I'm sorry.
Bizarre.
What can you tell me about Andrew?
He ain't so bad. Kinda spoiled, but he mostly cleans up after himself. Has a whole private part of the house. But I think he only
Elle nous
uses
dit pas
one
tout.
room. Better for me. Way less to clean.
Thank you, Amelie. I appreciate your time.
You're welcome. Now please, let me get back to work.
J'avouerai que j'ai pas pris de vrai repas à midi. Et quand je vois le pain ici, là, et les piments, j'ai faim. Alors, j'aime pas trop manger épicé, mais en vrai...
Some kind of water dispensing device, maybe? I was never very good at finding my way around the kitchen.
Stick around. I may have more questions.
Don't worry.
Bon, on va faire des sous les Brandon. Enfin, il est pas sous, mais vous avez compris, quoi. Il doit y avoir un truc ici qui peut le booster un peu. Voilà. Ah merde, c'est un petit. C'est pas ouf si c'est un petit. Attends, on m'a dit pas que le médecin... Un bon sandwich de piment. Ah là, en vrai, je pourrais manger n'importe quoi. J'ai faim. C'est le médecin qui prend les pilules pour se taper la mère.
Oh, goody.
I found this bottle of pills upstairs. Are they yours?
Yes, I take those from time to time when I'm feeling tired.
You seem to be out.
Yes, that is a pity.
Where do you usually acquire them?
Oh, they're available by mail order only. I'll have to remember to request some later.
Thanks for your time.
No, thank you for yours.
Alors, Peut-être la personne qui fait du vaudou peut peut-être me faire un truc reboostant. Ou alors ici? C'est vraiment une bière là? Non. C'est vrai que non.
She's running back. Not much of a hurry.
Yo.
Can we talk?
Go on, I'm listening.
I wanted to go over the case with you.
Okay, what have you got?
I seem to have hit a roadblock. There's an officer posted at Dupre's family tomb, and he won't let me in.
Makes sense. Who's the officer?
I've never seen him before. He's young, has a small scar over his left eye, and a distinct Dixie accent.
Ah yes, that would be Officer Grant. He's only been with the department for about 2 months. I don't know a lot about him, but he's already got the reputation for being the type of policeman who'd go out of his way to help old ladies cross the street. Typical Southern gentleman, it seems. Perhaps you can use that to your advantage?
Madame Dupre's son isn't being very helpful.
Is he refusing to talk?
More like incapable. The family doctor has him pretty well drugged to the gills. I need to find some way to perk him up.
Well, you know, we are in a coffee house.
Ah, c'est bien ce que je
I have a
pensais.
feeling it will take something a touch more powerful than coffee. That's enough about the case for now.
Okay,
That's it, I think.
then you'd better get back to it.
Moi j'aimais bien l'idée
All
du
that
coffee.
metal and tubing just to serve a hot cup of coffee?
Je vais retourner voir la dame là.
Welcome
You.
back, Mr. Fordham.
She's not gonna be much help right now. Best not to bother her.
Ah bon.
Could I ask you some more questions, Mr. Martin?
It's not like I'm going anywhere.
C'est vrai.
Albert, did you hate Madame Dupre?
The woman is cruel, sadistic, and bigoted. When she
Ouais, je
found
crois
out
qu'elle aime pas
about
trop.
my relationship with Juliet, oh, she sent me a letter threatening to have me killed if I got near her house or her daughter. So yes, Mr. Fordham, I hated her, but even so, I love her daughter. I wouldn't be so cruel as to take Juliet's mother away from her, even if she hated her too.
I beg your pardon?
Juliet and her mother didn't get along at all. I never asked why, but it was obvious there was something going on.
Intriguing.
Ouais, il y a un truc, hein. Finalement, je suspectais le fils, mais il m'a l'air juste un peu débile. Enfin, ignare, je voulais dire. C'est pas dans le sens... Donc je pense en vrai c'est la fille. Elle aime pas sa mère, en plus elle s'y connaît un truc... Bon, après, entre le poisson et la botanique, c'est pas la même
She's
chose,
busy.
mais...
Best not to bother her until we have something to ask her.
La fille avec le piment dans la cuisine. Ah, tu crois que l'autre l'aurait aidé? Oh, ce serait ouf. Mais possible.
Good day to you, officer.
Afraid I ain't got time for idle chat, sir. Please, move along.
Comment on fait pour qu'il nous aide, lui? Juste par référence à Cluedo. Avec le tisonnier.
This quack hasn't.
Oh là là, mais plus personne veut me parler. Il y a plus R, là.
As amusing as it is.
Au secours. Ah.
Stick around. I may...
Don't.
Au secours.
Locked.
I've never seen so many.
They're all empty.
Not to mention.
Let's have a look through these papers. Aha, what's this?
Oh, ça je l'avais pas. Je l'avais pas trouvé. Alors, j'ai été informée qu'il y avait une série de vols dans le voisinage. À côté de la chambre que vous louez au 76 Forest Lane. C'est pour ça que ces trucs sont vides, elle vit ailleurs. Ils ont changé les serrures et voici une copie de votre nouvelle clé.
So, Juliet is renting a room in the chum. That's certainly interesting.
Oh yeah.
Can't wait to see what sort of dirty secrets she's got hidden away in there.
Likewise. Likewise. Allons-y. Truc de ouf. Et on aura sans doute la clé pour l'autre coffre.
Egad! Is this someone's room or a jungle?
Quite a fascinating array of plants in here. Not to mention the machinery on the table.
Seems like Juliet is very interested in getting extra credit. I wonder what sort of fertilizer or growth tonic these plants are getting. Whatever it is, it's definitely working.
Ouais, c'est ce qu'on va donner aux frères, quoi.
That's quite the book collection. It almost puts Adelaide's to shame.
All impeccably cataloged and organized as well, which makes the two missing volumes stand out even more.
That's quite... Those are the most vibrant flowers we've seen in a while. I bet that...
Yes, they certainly...
It's a good thing you're the one with the nose. They appear to be scientific scribbling.
That makes two of us.
They appear to be...
That makes two.
They appear to...
That makes two of us. Well now, this is interesting.
Alors... Donc elle remet de l'électricité. Ouh, c'est-à-dire exactement comme sa mère là à la fin. Du courant électrique là.
Just a bunch of technical nonsense. I can't understand a word of it. Etheric pressure. What a bunch of nonsense.
Elle a électrocuté sa mère.
I have no idea nor desire to know what purpose that thing has. Oh, would you look at that?
Parfait.
They're just doing what flies do best.
Et bon, on va faire un petit coup de jus à Madame Montgomery. Et tout ira bien.
I'm guessing they're probably full of more scientific equipment or plant-related stuff.
Bon. Tu nous as pas tout dit, hein?
Hello again, Miss Montgomery. Mind answering a few more questions?
Hello, Mr. Fordham. Not at all.
Ça fait quoi d'électrocuter sa mère?
Do you know anything about ethericity, Miss Montgomery?
You surprised me, Mr. Fordham. I had no idea someone of your profession would know or care about something like that.
I've found that it pays to be open-minded.
To answer your question, yes, I am familiar with the theory of ethericity. In fact, it's recently become a focus of my studies. Despite what the newspapers have been reporting, it's already possible to access it in small quantities from the air around us.
Have you conducted any experiments?
No, my research has been purely theoretical. I don't have the means to do anything practical, I'm afraid.
Deceiver, dissembler, her trousers are alight. I can't understand why Juliet might not want to make her research public, though.
Du coup, je vous dis oui, Elec, machin. Là, en vrai, c'est un autre mot, hein. Éthéricité. C'est par rapport à éther. Je pense que c'est par rapport à cette époque, au niveau des... Pendant longtemps, les gens ont cru cette histoire d'éther, machin truc. C'est d'ailleurs même pour ça que, normalement, ils saignaient les gens pour les soigner et tout. Genre, ils pensaient qu'on avait des mauvaises ondes dans nous.
Miss Montgomery, please don't lie to me. I know you've been conducting experiments with ethericity. I've seen the room you're renting on Forest Lane.
What? But how?
I wouldn't be very good at my job if I didn't find things out, Miss Montgomery. Now please, drop the act and tell me about your experiments.
Fine. I've been researching etheric effects on living organisms. I'm planning on presenting my discoveries to the board once I make more progress. So far, I've managed to discover that plant growth is accelerated significantly. It's given me quite the advantage in class.
But isn't that cheating?
You have no idea how difficult it's been for me to be taken seriously, Mr. Fordham. No matter how hard I tried, my work wasn't valued on its own merits by my peers or professors. I fought hard to get where I am. I wasn't about to lose all that just because some pig-headed idiots didn't think my best was good enough.
That sounds awfully familiar.
What about your notes on the effects of ethericity on animals?
Oh, those aren't complete. I haven't tested the effects on anything larger than flies. Those experiments were mainly to satisfy my curiosity, but they have little to do with my actual research.
Curiosity? Seems like a lot of effort to go to just to answer a question. But then, I never really understood these scientific types.
No more questions for now.
Then if you don't mind, I have work to do.
Bon. Donc elle a fait ça. Certes. Est-ce que lui peut m'en dire quelque chose?
This quack hasn't... Alright, if we didn't know... As I'm using a...
Mhm.
So long.
Faut que je fasse le truc du piano, je pense. Hein. Je vois pas pour le piano. Parce que j'ai pas eu de partition.
Stick around.
Ok. Là, je vais rien avoir de plus. Hein. À moins qu'il me manque des bouquins. À moins les bouquins qui manquaient, c'est ça que je voulais dire.
The science of... Is this really?
Ah, mais attends, il y a un truc dans le livre.
It looks as though this folded piece of paper is being used as a bookmark. I hope remembering what...
Looks like it's a letter for Andrew.
Mais quoi? Ok, alors Andrew. Donc voilà le paiement pour lequel on s'était mis d'accord. Je pourrais pas me concentrer sur les examens sans cette aide. Ah oui, c'est un truc pour se booster, je pense. Sous le Weeping Angel. Attends, on en a vu un ange. Under the Weeping Angel.
Decadent.
Est-ce qu'on a un ange triste? Ça doit réfléchir. Hein.
Locked.
Je réessaye quand même. Là, non. Je sais quand même la statue au cas où. Ah, attendez, il y avait les livres aussi quand même que je dois... Ce sera dans le jardin sans doute l'ange.
One of those mel... Now that one doesn't appear choice. I don't even... I read that.
C'est bizarre qu'on puisse aller là. Quand même.
A horrible little...
Là? Non. Bon, on lui racontera pas sa vie de toute façon. Là?
This fountain probably... There's an angel on the fountain, but it doesn't look like it's weeping. This would probably be too risky a place to hide something anyway.
C'est toi qui le dis? C'est dommage, ça faisait... C'était quand même un ange, hein. Là, il n'y a pas d'ange. Là, non plus. J'ai envie de faire pipi, les gens. Non, fais pas que j'aille là. Oui, cet ange. Ah, je connais.
Welcome back, Miss.
The Virgin Mary. The Virgin. She's not gonna be. There's no way you'll be able to look behind that curtain while... Nothing else to ask him. He's watching you.
Je réfléchis, hein. Où est-ce qu'on peut avoir un...
We haven't anything to discuss.
Ah ouais, on a plus personne qui veut nous raconter sa life. On va bien trouver, hein. Là non, là non, là non. Mais en vrai, l'ange, il est forcément... Ah, je porte toi chez WAM. Truc de ouf.
Good to see you've made it back in one piece. So what's this big case Upton's got you on?
Let's go.
Another missing pet?
If only. A Gascon Grand Dame was attacked and almost interred alive.
You mean Madame Dupré? The one whose obituary was in the paper?
The very same.
Goodness, that does sound serious. Tell me if there's anything I can do to help. I know you haven't been feeling your best lately.
You're always a help to me, Addie. Though I assure you I have this well in hand.
I certainly hope so.
Addie?
Yes, dear?
Ah!
Do you know anything about Madame Dupré?
Petit distracting
I've
là.
read that the Duprés are one of the few wealthy families that exclusively employ real people to serve. Rather commendable, don't you think?
Yes. It makes it even more baffling why she was attacked. Have you heard any gossip from your clients? Anything about who might have wanted to harm her?
Nothing. She's held in the highest regard by the other Grand Dames. If she had actually died, I'd have expected them to petition her canonization.
I was wondering if you could do me a favor.
Attends, du coup l'ange ce
There's
serait
an
juste la
officer
mère?
posted in front of Madame Dupré's family tomb, and I need to get a look inside.
Bah non.
Could you use your wiles and charm to distract him?
My wiles and charm, hmm?
Well, you are irresistible, darling. I'm sure he wouldn't turn away a lady in need. Say you've gotten lost in the cemetery and ask him to show you the way out.
Should we really be tricking a police officer like that?
There's no harm in it, and I won't be but a moment inside. It's in a good cause.
All right, let's go then.
Parfait ça!
Excuse me, officer. I was wondering if you could help me?
Hmm? What do you want?
I seem to have gotten all turned around. Do you have any idea how to get to the front gate?
My suggestion would be to turn around and head back the way you came.
Yes, I've tried that, but I seem to just be going in circles. Perhaps you could point me in the right direction?
Stop right there. That's quite enough from you.
I beg your pardon?
Don't think I can't tell what your game is. You're trying to lure me away from here and into some alley where your gang of Sambos is gonna rob me blind. Exactly how many of them have you got lying in wait for poor unsuspecting fools you bring them?
Just one. And he doesn't appreciate you talking to his wife that way.
You know, Miles, sometimes I forget how absolutely delightful it is to watch you lose your head.
Miles, was that really necessary?
I'm sorry, Addie. You know how I get with people whose minds are full of that rubbish.
Let's just get him out of sight before this lands both of us in jail. That bush over there should work. I have to say, I wasn't expecting assaulting a policeman to be on today's activity list.
It'll be fine. When you're on the force as long as I was, you can pretty much get away with murder.
Well, it's been fun, but I need to take my wiles and charm over to my appointment with Mrs. Lefebvre. I'll see you at home later, dear. Try to stay out of trouble.
Bon, bah la voie est libre. C'est la bonne nouvelle. Est-ce que c'est une nouvelle zone? Oh, c'est le Weeping Angel!
That nest is full of eggs. But where's the mother bird?
Perhaps she abandoned it.
Always assuming the worst, aren't you, Miles?
Ah, on va faire une pause ici. Hop. Je pense qu'on va bientôt switcher sur Final Fantasy, mais comme je vous ai dit, j'aimerais finir cette enquête d'abord. Je pense qu'on n'est pas loin quand même de résoudre le truc, vu qu'on va réveiller le gars et tout. Ça va se boucler. C'est nice, en tout cas, vraiment, j'accroche beaucoup. Il y a un vrai feeling... Genre moi, en tout cas, en tant que joueuse, je sais pas comment ça fait en tant que joueur, mais moi, en tant que joueuse, il y a une vraie immersion. Et c'est vraiment très cool. Bon, comme je disais, il y a quand même la barrière de la langue, forcément, si vous parlez pas anglais, c'est moins l'immersion. Mais sans ça, franchement, très bon jeu. Et c'est dommage qu'il n'ait pas été traduit, quoi. En vrai. Même si c'est cool, justement, l'accent est très cool et tout. C'est très bien doublé. Mais c'est vrai que ça aurait été cool qu'il y ait des sous-titres en français, au moins, pour les gens. Ce serait plutôt cool. Exactement, FF14, après. J'arrive, les gens. Hop là. Je trouve que par rapport à beaucoup le doublage, les textes ne sont pas lus comme des lignes de texte, mais comme un vrai dialogue entre les persos. Tout à fait. C'est pour ça que depuis tout à l'heure, j'ai vraiment l'impression de suivre une série avec vous, quoi. En fait. Pour de vrai. C'est bizarre, hein. Je parle pas beaucoup et tout, j'ai vraiment juste l'impression de faire une enquête policière avec vous, quoi. C'est nice. C'est ce qu'on veut. Et vraiment, le travail en termes de doublage, ça a dû... Et en plus, on pourrait dire, oui, vu que c'est des graphismes un peu pixel, hein, c'est du pixel art, à peu près, hein, très détaillé. On pourrait dire, ouais, c'est pas beaucoup de budget en graphisme, mais il faut quand même les faire, les scènes, les bonhommes, les animations, tout ça. Donc en vrai, il y a du taf de partout. Et surtout, le budget qu'ils ont dû avoir en voice-over est fou. Ça me tue.
What a dramatic statue. I'm rather surprised no one has defaced it. Hang on. You don't suppose this is... Surprise, surprise! A hidden compartment with a stash of pills inside. Seems Mr. Montgomery has a little business on the side.
Cool.
I suppose the whole heaven shining down upon the tomb motif is good for the dead people's self-esteem. These crypts are reserved for future generations of Chestertons to rot in.
There are only 3 left.
Then let's hope the Chestertons aren't opposed to spending eternity cozied up to one another. This must be what was going to be Madame Dupre's final resting place.
I don't see anything inside.
What? Were you expecting a note from her attacker?
No, but I was hoping for some kind of clue at the very least. Sarah Chesterton, 1784 to 1812. I told you I was sick. Celine, 1823 to 1844. William Arthur Chesterton. John Patrick Chesterton. Desmond Chesterton, Jane Scott. Douglas Chesterton. Dale Chesterton's.
Le code Riddance aussi. Ok. Bon, on va pouvoir réveiller Brandon. I told you I was sick. Ça, c'est drôle.
I have some questions for you.
Oh, goody.
You'll never believe what I found in your family's tomb.
Oh? Was it a ghost?
No, it was these vigor pills. You wouldn't happen to know how they got there, would you?
I see you really are good at your job, aren't you, Mr. Fordham?
Look, Andrew, I'm in no mood for games. I'm willing to overlook your unlawful activities in exchange for your cooperation.
Fine, but you have to understand, I'm not exactly feeling myself right now.
I understand perfectly, which is why I need you to take one of these pills.
I suppose one would help. Thank you. My goodness, I always forget how fast those pills work. My heart is racing. You said you had questions, didn't you? Well, go on, ask them already. We mustn't waste any more time.
Well, that seems to have done the trick. I just hope we haven't doomed him to a heart attack.
How do you typically spend your days, Mr. Montgomery? What are your interests?
I study pharmacology at the university. I'll be graduating next year if all goes well. I just hope Mother has recovered enough by then to understand what's going on. She and Jean were so proud of me when I started university. I'd be so disappointed if she couldn't see me finish.
I take it Jean is your stepfather.
He is. Mother married him 5 years after my father died of consumption.
My condolences. Do you have a good relationship with him?
Not terribly. Truth is, I hardly ever see him. In fact, before the funeral, I hadn't seen him at all this month.
Where is he now?
I don't know for certain, but it seems likely he's at his hunting cabin.
His hunting cabin?
Yes, he often goes there. It's his way of leaving polite society behind and spending time with his thoughts. Considering what Mother just went through, well, I would guess that's where he's gone. Although to be honest, I don't know why he's not here with Mother in her time of need.
Why do people run away from their problems instead of facing them? Why, Miles?
Do you know where this cabin is?
Afraid not. I don't share his passions, so I never cared much to accompany him on his outings.
So, you're running some kind of pill business on the side?
I'm providing a service, Mr. Fordham. Not everyone in this life is as lucky as I am. People pay top crown for luxuries like airship tickets and social club memberships. Medicine should be affordable to all. Dr. Tennyson has a patent on the energy pill formula and thus a monopoly on the market. That means he can charge whatever he wants. Students use these kinds of pills all the time, you know. Academic rigors can be overwhelming, and concentrating can be difficult without help sometimes. I've got the skills and the equipment. If I can replicate the formula, help my fellow students, and sell them at a much more reasonable price, why shouldn't I?
There's the fact that what you're doing is illegal.
Oh, you're starting to sound just like Mother. And just because it's illegal doesn't mean it's immoral. I can think of plenty of examples where the opposite is true.
You're probably the most altruistic person I've met all month.
The sad part is it's true.
C'est désolé.
What can you tell me about Madame Dupré?
I can't believe anyone would be so cruel as to do what that wretched bastard Martin did to her. Mother is kind and generous and everyone loves her. She's even good enough to hire actual people
Non,
to
mais
do the
sûr, c'est
housework.
Juliette.
Not many
Ils
wealthy
changent de
families do
personne à
that,
chaque
you
fois.
know. They just use automated machines or hire servants to operate the manual ones.
What exactly were the circumstances leading up to your mother's supposed death?
A few days ago, I arrived home from school and found her collapsed on the floor. She wasn't breathing, so I immediately contacted Dr. Fellows. He examined her and pronounced her dead. We were all completely shocked. I was devastated. She'd been in fine health. In fact, she'd just been out riding that morning. You can imagine our surprise at the funeral when she sprang back to life.
Effectivement.
What's your relationship with the servants like?
Relationship? I don't have one with them. They're servants. Mother always made it clear that they weren't part of the family, just help. We've only got 2 on staff right now, though, the kitchen girl and the gardener.
How is it you know Albert Martin?
He works at the greenhouse where my sister Juliet does her research. The 2 of them were involved romantically, and Mother didn't like that at all. I heard their fights. They were ghastly.
What exactly made you suspect he was the one responsible for what happened to your mother?
Well, I mean, it's obvious, isn't it? His mother's a notorious voodoo witch. Those people do all sorts of awful things to our kind. It's all out of spite, you know. He knew Mother disapproved of his relationship with Juliet, so he plotted to get rid of her.
That's a rather exotic bird you've got.
Yes, Ray is nice when he's quiet. But get him started and it's tough to shut him up.
Who trained him?
I think he already knew some phrases when Mother bought him. She's managed to teach him a few new ones, though.
What can you tell me about your sister, Juliet?
Juliet, smart as a whip and just as forgiving. She's a fighter, that one. Despite being the only woman in her class, she's managed to rank at the top.
Impressive.
I only wish Mother was more accepting of Juliet going to university. But you don't want to hear about boring family matters, I'm sure.
Oh, but family matters are my favorite. It's always so reassuring to know how much worse off everyone else is.
Thanks for your time.
My pleasure.
Bon. En dehors de ces préjugés dégueulasses, c'est pas un vrai bougre, je pense.
Probably want to...
No.
Pieces of... Who's it pretty...
Raise.
So... Amelie?
Yes? What is it? We mustn't be seen talking.
Anything you can tell me about Jean?
I hardly ever see him. Only at dinner. He's scared of Madame.
Chelou, Jean.
Any reason to get out of the house and stay away as long as he can.
Scared of her?
Oh, it's true. You should see him when they're in private. Like a shamed puppy that dirtied the carpet.
Interesting.
C'est bizarre.
Do you have any idea why Jean is so afraid of Madame Dupré?
If he's seen the same things we have, then yes.
What kind of things?
No, I spoke out of turn. Forget I said
Ah non, vas-y, crache le morceau.
A potentially innocent man's life is
ça.
on the line. If I don't find out who attacked Madame Dupré, he's as good as dead. So if there are any facts or details you know that I don't, you need to tell me.
Exactement.
I can't.
Si.
I'm not with the police. If Madame Dupré did something wrong, I'm not going to look the other way. Trust me, I'm on your side.
Madam beats the servants. I think she even does it for fun. I hear the screams sometimes. I don't know how anyone else in the family doesn't. Maybe they do and just ignore it. I don't know. But if Mr. Dupré knows what she do, it explains why he's so scared of her.
C'est chaud!
Did Madame Dupré ever abuse you?
No, I was lucky. But some of the others weren't.
C'est pour ça qu'il y en a
Like who? I need details, Amelie.
The old gardener, Guy Dumas, and one of the maids, Celine. I saw Madame going after them the most. Don't know what they did to deserve it, but I would see her walk by in a rage, whip in one hand and a book in the other.
A book? What book?
Oh, I don't know. I can't read, so I don't know what it said on the cover. But it's the same color as the stew spice I always use. Don't know what she used it for, but she always had it with her, just before a beating.
Maybe she'd recite them some of her terrible poetry. I'm sure that was torture enough.
Effectivement. Oh là là, les gens, le cas s'intensifie là. Le case, je voulais dire, l'affaire.
Tell me more about Guy and Celine.
Je mixe le français et l'anglais.
In love with each other. I used to hear them talk about how they wanted to run away together.
What happened to them?
I don't know. One day they were here, and then one day they weren't.
Do you think Madame Dupré may have done something to them?
I couldn't say for
Elle
sure,
les a mangés.
but I wouldn't be surprised if she had. Please, let's not talk about this anymore.
Tu
Thank
m'étonnes.
you, Amelie. I appreciate your time.
Oh, mais moi j'aurais bougé, hein. Elle peut pas,
Now,
mais...
please, let me get back to work.
C'est chaud. Amélie, t'as du courage, hein.
Certainly no shortage. Looks like the type of spices you'd use in a stew. Most likely paprika or turmeric. Nice variety of reds and oranges.
Ok, donc red et orange. Yop, Kakusei. Comment tu vas? Ça me veut dire que tu suives l'histoire, Tipoki.
I have some questions for you.
Alright.
Did you know Guy Dumas?
The old gardener? Sure, I knew him. We didn't talk very much. He was just a servant after all, but he seemed like a nice man. He stopped coming around about 2 months ago. Too bad, really. He did a good job of keeping the gardens looking nice. The new one is alright, but he just doesn't have that special touch Guy did.
Were you familiar with a servant named Celine?
Yes, I believe she was one of the maids. I didn't talk to her very much. Oh, she quit not so long ago. At least I assume she did. I haven't seen her in about 3 months.
Thanks for your time.
Ils vont être dans la caisse. Ils vont être dans la crate. Vous êtes pas prêts, quoi. Ah, mais il est trop bien, le jeu, en vrai, Lint. Il est hyper calé. Comme j'ai dit, je pense que le fait qu'il soit pas doublé fait que, tu vois... qu'il soit pas traduit fait que il est moins connu, mais en vrai, trop bien. Je kiffe.
Well, this should be the book Amelie mentioned.
Depuis tout à l'heure, je suis à fond dedans, genre comme si je regardais une série, comme je disais tout à l'heure.
Well, what have we here?
What? Elle a...
A whip, and it has dried blood on it. How ghastly.
This house is just full of secrets, isn't it?
Oh man! C'est chaud! C'est un peu chaud, hein. Mais ouais, le doublage est insane, et puis c'est rare d'avoir un jeu comme ça doublé, normalement tu dois tout lire toi-même. C'est trop bien, moi j'aime trop. Et ça fait plusieurs fois récemment que je tombe sur des jeux qui sont full doublés, et du coup je suis trop contente. C'est une heure que je me dis qu'il faut que j'aille manger, mais je vois la suite. Moi je veux voir la fin de la résolution de l'affaire, tu vois, au moins. Mais ça se trouve c'est tout le jeu. Tout le jeu c'est résoudre l'affaire.
Amelie?
Non, normalement on devrait pas tarder.
I found this upstairs in Madame Dupre's bedroom. Do you recognize it?
Oh, please take that away, Mr. Fordham. Why would you show it to me?
Ouais, je suis d'accord.
I'm sorry, I didn't think it would upset you.
Miles. Maybe someday you'll learn how to read basic human emotion.
Thank you, Amelie. I appreciate your time.
You're welcome. Now please, let me get back to work.
Bon, ça c'est une bonne nouvelle.
Doctor, may I ask you a few questions?
Please, be my guest.
Tell me what you know about Jean Dupre.
I'd rather not speak of him. Madame Dupre does not need to be agitated any further.
I take it you don't look very favorably upon him, then.
I'll just say this. If my wife had been attacked and left for dead, you can be sure I wouldn't leave her side.
What a gentleman. He doesn't even leave women who aren't his wife.
I see what you mean. Do you know where I might find him?
I only wish I did.
Those are all the questions I've got for now.
I hope I answered them adequately.
8F, hein. 8F, mais bon, on va faire avec. Donc là, on a parlé à tout le monde, tout ça. Juliette! Faut qu'on parle à Juliette, là. Tu sais que ta mère battait les servants? Les servants? Serviteurs?
Hello again, Miss Montgomery. Mind answering a few more questions?
Hello, Mr. Fordham. Not at all.
Ah, tout ça?
Is there anything you can tell me about your stepfather, Jean?
He's a kind man. I don't really see him too often. He seemed rather upset at Mother's funeral, but I can't help but wonder if he feels the same way as I do about her death.
What do you mean?
Just that I get the distinct impression that he and Mother's marriage isn't as perfect as they'd like it to appear.
I'm starting to sense a trend here.
Your brother told me that Jean enjoys hunting. Do you know where his cabin is?
Yes, it's in Fenton Swamp.
Oh,
I went out there with him a few
nouvel
times,
endroit.
but I didn't really enjoy it. Frankly, the place is rather grotesque. All those stuffed trophies staring at you with their cold, dead eyes. Plants are much nicer to have around. Anyway, if you take the main road through the swamp about 1.5 miles, you'll come upon a small dirt path that goes northeast. Take that until you see a small cabin on the left. That's it.
Thank you for the information, Miss Montgomery. Do you know Guy Dumas?
Yes, he was one of our servants. He used to enjoy reading my
C'est frère
books, as well as
Alexandre.
Andrew's.
When did you see him last?
Just last week. He came by to see me and asked to borrow some books.
Ok, il est vivant.
Do you know where I might be able to find him?
Not really. I get the impression that he moves around frequently. But I can tell him you're looking for him next time I see him, if you like.
Please do. Although hopefully I'll be able to find him before then. Were you friends with Celine, the maid?
Yes, I was quite fond of Celine. She was so sweet and interesting to talk to. One day, she just left the house with no explanation. Mother said it was because she had found work elsewhere. I was terribly saddened. I wish I'd had the chance to say goodbye to her, at least. What's your interest in her?
Oh, I was just curious, that's all. No more questions for now.
Then if you don't mind, I have work to do.
Très assidue dans son travail, Juliette. Hein. Elle lâche rien. Cimetière, pas besoin. La cabine est ici. Je vais retourner voir ma meuf. Donc il y aurait quelque chose à me dire. Quoi, elle est plus là? Bah alors. Est-ce qu'elle est là? Elle est pas là non plus.
Don't worry, Miles. I don't watch when you and Adelaide are having your private time.
It would be nice if you didn't spend the whole time humming.
I thought you appreciate.
Rude. Rude. Tac. Je vais quand même revoir lui. Just in case.
Nothing else to...
Ok. Je Je fais les trucs où normalement j'ai pas besoin de parler. Tac 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 bam. Bon bah, let's go.
Hello? Is anyone here?
Strange of Dupré to leave the door unlocked. Maybe it means he'll be returning soon. You really have to wonder about someone who chooses to surround themselves with dead things.
So,
One of the guns is missing. Jean must be out using it currently. Satchels, boxes, and other assorted boring things for hunting.
Let's see if Jean has anything interesting in here.
Not very much, except a letter.
alors, merci beaucoup pour ton aide. Quand je pense que mère voulait que je sois rejetée de mes études. C'est fou. C'est Juliette, hein. Ne t'inquiète pas. Je ne lui dirai pas que tu as fait changer d'avis l'université. Ah, le one attempt to ruin a life is quite enough. Ça veut dire que... il y a un autre truc derrière.
Who the hell are you? What are you doing in my cabin?
Jean Dupré, I presume?
Yes, that's right. Who are you?
Miles Fordham, private investigator. I'm looking into the attempted murder of your wife.
Oh, yes. Yes, of course. Forgive my rudeness, but you startled me.
Perfectly understandable, Mr. Dupré.
This is a man whose bark is most definitely worse than his bite.
Ok. Il s'est mis en place.
I had a nasty run-in with an alligator when I was a child. One less in the world doesn't really bother me, to be honest. An absolute bore. Are these even native to New Britannia? It seems Mr. Dupré is a Bollingworth man. Maybe he's not so bad after all. Some high society type in the middle of a hunt. I don't understand why anyone would get a thrill out of murdering innocent creatures.
N'est-ce pas?
Not a very dignified end for our friend Mr. Bear.
Ok, bon bah let's go.
Can we talk, Mr. Dupré?
I suppose so. Yes.
I suppose it goes without saying that you enjoy hunting, Mr. Dupré?
Yes, I do. I consider myself something of an outdoorsman, you see. It's nice to be able to go out and get some fresh air after being sat at the bank all day.
What about your home life?
Truth be told, I'm not at home as often as I'd like to be. I've been trying to make more time, but something usually comes up. Business is business, after all.
Merci beaucoup, Julien.
Yeah, but what business are we talking about here exactly?
Le multigaming. Merci beaucoup pour ton resub.
What can you tell me about Madame Dupré?
J'espère que tu vas
my
bien.
dear wife, the past few days have been just awful for all of us.
Tu m'étonnes,
Yes,
l'autre
I
elle
can
a résisté.
How long have you been married?
For 7 wonderful years. Laura and I are just as much in love now as we were on the day we married.
Lord, does he actually expect anyone to believe that nonsense?
You'll pardon me for being so frank, Mr. Dupré, but why are you out hunting and not at your wife's side?
Excuse me? Who are you to lecture me on my marriage?
A fellow married man, that's who. Your wife has just suffered a very traumatic ordeal. Shouldn't you be at home caring for her?
But with all the confusion at the house with the police investigating and her being attended to by her doctor, I just needed to get away for a bit. Surely you can understand, Mr. Fordham.
There's something off about this guy, Miles. He's definitely hiding something. And for once, I don't think it's from his wife.
Do you know anything about the circumstances surrounding Madame Dupré's death?
Horrible. Simply horrible.
Do you have any idea why Mr. Martin might have attempted to kill her?
Mr. Martin? You mean the boys they arrested? Andrew said it's because Martin and his mother are witches who prey on the well-to-do. You only need to take one look at him to see his trouble. It's a shame they put him away so quickly. I'd have liked to teach him a lesson or two, believe you me.
Yeah, right. A lesson on how to cower in the corner, most likely.
Nice. Ah bah, du coup, Lint, tu confirmes, il fait chaud à Toulouse? Moi, ça va, ça s'est tassé. Il fait beau, mais il fait pas insupportable. Ça fait du bien, parce que en général, c'est la cocotte minute, là. Mais là, c'est cool.
What can you tell me about your stepchildren?
Andrew and Juliet? I see a bright future ahead for both of them.
What's your relationship with them like?
It's fine. Why do you ask?
I got the distinct impression from both of them that they hardly ever see you.
Well, yes, I suppose that is true. We don't spend much time together. But they're both so busy with school, I don't want to get in their way. Not to mention my job keeps me away from home for considerable periods of time.
À la française un peu.
Excuses. I get the feeling Mr. Dupre avoids his family on purpose. But why?
Ça me fait trop penser à... C'était sur TikTok, je suis tombée sur un TikTok de... Oh, comment ça s'appelle? Ah, j'ai oublié le nom, attends, je vais chercher. Jocat, un truc comme ça. C'est une chanteuse. Doja Cat, c'est ça. Et elle a fait un TikTok où elle prend l'accent français. Et en fait, elle a foutu de l'eau par terre en remplissant son bain. Et du coup, c'est un TikTok où elle est su par terre et elle dit « There is water on the floor ». Mais elle fait exprès. Et les gens, ils ont dit en commentaire, elle fait encore mieux l'accent français que les Français. « There is water on the floor ». Elle le dit vraiment comme ça, c'est trop drôle. Alors que bon, elle est américaine, il me semble. Beaucoup trop drôle.
Do you fear your wife, Mr. Dupre?
Do I... what?
The question's quite simple. Are you afraid of Madame Dupre?
Why in the east would you think that?
Encore les terres, hein?
I'd be afraid of someone who kept a bloody whip in my bedroom. Care to explain that?
You don't know her like I do. No one does. Well, no one aside from the servants, I suppose. She's cruel, Mr. Fordham. Crueler than anyone or anything I've ever seen.
Tell me more about Madame Dupre's cruelty.
She treats the servants like animals, Mr. Fordham. She would say the most vile, awful things to them. Things I would expect to hear on the Gascon docks, not from the lips of a grande dame. And the beatings. Oh, God. The screams I would hear from somewhere in the house. I never dared find out where.
There is water in the floor.
No. She was cunning. She would do it when no one else was around. Once she knew I had heard, she threatened me. Told me she would...
Yes?
Kill you.
She threatened to expose my secret, Mr. Fordham.
And what secret is that?
Our marriage is one of convenience. It's all for show. Laura has herself a well-to-do husband, and I am a normal man in the eyes of society.
I see. I suppose that would explain a few things.
Well, now, how was that not obvious to you? The soporific is really having a bad effect on you.
Don't worry, Mr. Dupre. Your secret's safe with me.
Thank you, Mr. Fordham.
Ouais, franchement, il est bien comme jeu, Julien. Si, comme j'ai dit, si t'as pas de soucis avec l'anglais, et si t'aimes bien suivre des enquêtes policières, bah, vraiment, on est dans ce côté, tu vois, si t'aimes bien les petites ambiances à la Sherlock, tout ça, c'est vraiment ça.
Tell me what you know about Guy Dumas and Celine.
C'est prenant.
Celine had an accident.
What kind of accident?
Laura thought Celine had been stealing her silverware. She got a bit carried away with a beating and...
Dupre killed Celine?
Yes, she did. In order to keep it quiet, she had Celine placed in our family tomb.
I see. What about Guy?
I don't know. I never saw him again after that.
Well, this case has certainly taken a turn for the sinister.
Oh, man!
Do you know anything about Madame Dupre trying to get Juliet taken out of her classes at the university?
Ah, yes. Laura didn't approve of her daughter's desire to further her education. So, she sent a letter to the university requesting Juliet's withdrawal. I didn't approve of her trying to meddle in Juliet's affairs. If she wants to study, she should be free to do so. I wrote them a letter myself, without Laura's knowledge,
c'est pas un mauvais bougre, lui.
Disregards the previous request for withdrawal.
That's very
bon, après, il a rien balancé,
yes,
mais...
well, I dislike seeing people being told what they can and can't do by others.
Yet, he seems perfectly willing to employ servants at his home. Well, I suppose we're all hypocrites in one way or another.
I'll be going now.
Au revoir, Mr. Fordham.
Ah, c'était bien en français. Donc là, je gère, je dois voir tout ce qui est de base enquête concernant le près le style de Sherlock. Mais franchement, moi j'aime beaucoup. Franchement, ce jeu est très très cool. Il y a un vrai kiff si t'es prêt à te poser un petit peu et tout. Bien sympa. Et on va totalement aller au caveau. Ah, du coup, tu te fais spoil, mais...
John Patrick Chester. William R. Douglas Chester.
Wait a minute. This is Celine, the maid. Somehow a piece of paper got wedged into the side of the vault. Carefully now.
Heureusement que j'ai ma pince à épiler. Oh là, pardon. Ah, j'ai raté.
Got it. Nice work, Fordham. Now to see what this is.
Interesting.
Leaving notes for the dead.
Ah ouais, c'est Guy. C'est
Wonder if
Guy.
anyone has left
Ça y est, je
me
change
Quiet,
de
girl, I
coupable.
need to think. You know this note is likely from Guy. Now we just need to figure out where to find him.
Is there anything on the other side of that piece of paper?
Bill, you're a genius.
I wouldn't give me all the credit just yet.
Let's see, a receipt for an extended stay at the Stun Arms. Does that sound familiar at all?
Vaguely. But I can't recall anything off the top of my head.
Looks like we'll have to do a bit more searching.
Oui, bah je pense qu'on peut s'en aller. C'est macabre, hein, cette histoire. À qui on peut demander ça? À lui, c'est mon pote. Vas-y, dis-moi.
Oh, Mr. Fordham, you're back.
Oui, calme-toi quand même, hein.
Can we talk, Mr. Dupré?
I suppose so. Yes.
I found this note in the Chesterton tomb. I suspect it was left by Guy.
So he's still alive?
Guy.
Apparently so. And staying at a hotel somewhere, judging from this receipt the note was written on.
Grave.
As you can see, the name is only partially legible. Do you know where the Stun Arms might be?
I'm afraid not, sorry.
I'll be going now.
Au revoir, Miss...
Oh, useless le gars, quoi. Je vais aller au bar.
Can we talk?
Go on, I'm listening.
I wanted to go over the case with you.
Okay, what have you got?
I found this note in the Chesterton tomb. I think it was left by the person who attacked Madame Dupré.
Nice work. Sounds like you're about ready to wrap things up.
I will be as soon as I find him. Take a look at the other side of it.
Part of a receipt for a hotel?
Yes, but the name is only partially visible at the bottom.
Stun Arms. The only hotel that comes to mind is the Boston Arms.
Ah, je savais qu'elle aurait un avis.
Of course. I knew the name sounded familiar. The stories I could tell you about that place. Not right now, of course.
You're helpful as always, Upton. Thank you.
Good luck, Fordham. I hope you find your suspect.
Ouais, après autant je l'aime beaucoup, Lint, autant souvent quand c'est mis devant les yeux du grand public, c'est pour faire une bonne image. Hein. Et non, je regarde pas ce soir Néo parce que j'ai pas fait les épisodes la semaine dernière. Donc j'aurai 4 épisodes de HP à regarder après ce soir Néo. C'est parfait. En vrai c'est bien, je vais en avoir stacké un bon groupe là. Et en vrai, ce moment je suis en train de regarder Stranger Things du coup.
Who is it?
Mais c'est cool comme ça, j'en ai plus à regarder. Alors.
Mr. Dumas, listen to me. I don't want to make this into more of an issue than it should be, but I believe it's in your best interest to let me in so I can speak with you.
Just a moment.
I'm Miles Fordham, a private investigator. It's extremely important I speak with you, Mr. Dumas.
What do you want?
Just to talk. May I come in?
Yes, I suppose so.
I found your note in St. Denis Cemetery. Care to explain what it means?
How did you...
I'm a private investigator, Mr. Dumas. That's what I do. Now we can either do this the easy way or the hard way. It's up to you.
I left that note for Celine. I didn't think anyone would ever find it.
So it was you who attacked Madame Dupré?
Yes. Yes, it was me. I confess.
I can't remember the last time a suspect actually confessed. If only they were all like this.
But please, Mr. Fordham, you have to understand. The woman is evil.
Ah, c'est vrai.
If only you knew what she did. Please, don't arrest me, Mr. Fordham. You have to know the truth about Madame Dupré.
C'est bon, je sais déjà.
Relax, Mr. Dumas. I'm not going to arrest you just yet. I'm perfectly willing to hear your side of the story. Now let's take this nice and slow.
J'ai déjà hâte pour la prochaine saison de Stranger Things, je dirais rien, faut que je commence Stranger Things. Alors, moi franchement j'aime bien ce démarrage de saison, qui tranche un peu d'ailleurs je trouve en termes d'intrigue, vu qu'on n'est plus sur l'intrigue principale, puisque maintenant on est passé un petit peu plus loin. Il y a une nouvelle intrigue en fait, et par contre je trouve les épisodes un peu longs. Je pense qu'en vrai 50 minutes pour un épisode de série c'est le mieux, et là les épisodes ils font tous 1h15 minimum. Et bah pourquoi pas faire plus d'épisodes quoi. Tu vois, ce serait... Ça aurait pas fait de mal de faire plus d'épisodes. Mais après je comprends le délire. Après je dis ça alors que moi je fais des épisodes de let's play beaucoup trop longs, donc je comprends tout à fait ce qui a pu se passer. Ils ont beaucoup de choses à dire. Mais en vrai c'est cool. C'est cool, c'est toujours sympa, les acteurs sont... Voilà, on les apprécie du coup depuis le temps et c'est cool. Et j'aime bien aussi le nouveau personnage du maître du jeu.
How did you come to be employed by Madame Dupré?
I used to work in an iron factory in Chomley, but a few years ago, they brought in some steam machines to help production. One of the machines had a problem, and my friend Connor and I were assigned to fix it. We had no idea what we were doing, but we wanted to keep our jobs. I don't know what happened, but the next thing I knew, Connor was dead, and I was badly hurt. I swore never to go near one of those machines again. After I got better, I spent a few months looking for work, but it was impossible to find any jobs that didn't involve steam tech. Then I found out about Madame Dupré. Working at her home seemed like an improvement. I had a decent bed to sleep in. The work was not difficult, and I even made friends with her daughter. But Madame Dupré soon showed her true nature.
What can you tell me about Madame Dupré?
She seemed like a nice woman at first, but after working for her, I came to know how awful she truly was. When no one was around, she would beat me and some of the other servants for fun, say the most cruel things, call us horrible names.
Why didn't you just leave?
She threatened us, told us she would make it impossible for us to get work anywhere else. It's already difficult enough getting a job that doesn't force you to operate those awful machines. To be blacklisted by Madame Dupré would have been the final nail in the coffin.
C'est triste. Oui, Lynn, j'y ai pensé aujourd'hui à Solastar. Je me suis dit, ça se trouve, la prochaine fois qu'on va jouer, on aura tout oublié. Ce serait bien qu'on y joue.
So why did you attack Madame Dupré in the way you did?
I knew that if I went to her home and killed her, I would be caught and thrown in jail. I needed to find a way to do it quietly and not make anyone suspicious. Also, I wanted her to suffer for what she did to my Celine. I had read about toxic plants in Juliet's schoolbooks, and I knew a bit about them from working as a
gardener. Oh là là, on n'aurait pas pu deviner.
So
J'aime pas quand on peut pas deviner qui est le méchant.
Make her appear dead, so
méchant,
she could be buried alive and suffer the same way she made us when she would lock us away in her secret room.
Did you say secret room?
Yes, Mr. Fordham. It was no bigger than a coffin. She would place us inside if she was especially mad at us, with no food or water, sometimes for days at a time.
Oh, c'est
We
chaud.
couldn't scream because she would stuff our mouths. She would also plug our ears and cover our faces.
How often did she put you in there?
Only a few times, but that was more than enough. I'd rather not think about it.
So you have no idea where it is?
None. I only remember Madame Dupré would say the same thing any time she was about to put someone in there. A perfect servant must behave. I've told you everything, Mr. Fordham. Are you still going to arrest me?
I haven't quite decided yet, Mr. Dumas. If I can find this secret room, it would be enough to charge Madame Dupré with a crime. However, if you haven't been telling me the truth...
I have been, Mr. Fordham. I swear it. I'll even make you a deal. If you promise me you'll try to find the secret room, I won't leave this hotel.
All right, Dumas. It's a deal.
Well, at least now we can go straight to Upton and have him taken in. Unless you really do believe him about the secret room.
Oui. Bien sûr.
Do you know Albert Martin?
No. Who is that?
He's Juliet's lover, falsely accused of the crime you committed.
I had no idea.
Are you going to let an innocent man die because of what you did?
No. No, of course not. I suppose things got out of hand. It was not my intention for someone else to take the blame for my actions.
Tell me about Celine.
Oh, my dear Celine. She was the most beautiful thing I ever saw. We were going to get married, you know. Then that devil killed her. She beat her to death in front of me. I was powerless to do anything.
Sure.
Please, Mr. Fordham, I don't want to remember. Let us speak of something else.
That's all for right now, but I'll be back.
Yes, Mr. Fordham. I'll be here.
Non, tout de suite.
Seems to be what passes for a dresser around here. Either that or Dumas is secretly a pirate. It appears someone is due for... If there's one thing I...
Bah let's go hein, pour la room secrète. Moi aussi Julien, moi aussi. Moi je pense A servant must behave, ça doit être un truc par rapport au livre. Et il y a un livre qui va faire un truc. Qui va ouvrir la petite truc cache ici.
There are way more important things to concern ourselves with now than browsing Madame Dupre's book collection.
Ah, bon. J'aimais bien mon idée pourtant. Mais bon. Allons-y. J'ai faim quand même un petit peu là. Il se fait tard.
As amusing as it is to...
On doit trouver.
Stick around. I may have more.
Non.
Mais non. Oh, je vais dire ça au perroquet, il va répondre quelque chose.
A perfect servant must behave.
And now you'll taste an early grave. Me sofa, Ray. In the middle, see?
So long.
In the middle sea. The middle sea, the middle sea. Le CB, je sais pas quoi là. Alors déjà, middle sea. Donc C2EF, GABC. C2EF, GABC. Middle C. J'espère que je me semblais l'avoir fait. Non. Qu'est-ce que j'ai pas? Pas pour moi qui a dit middle C, hein. Trop bien, Camille. Écoute-moi.
A perfect servant must behave.
And now you'll taste an early grave. Me sofa, Ray. In the middle, see?
So long.
Il y a un sofa là.
Nothing.
Damn that bird, what the hell was he babbling about?
Nothing.
Damn that... There are way more important things. Oh, dear God, no.
Nothing.
Damn that.
Est-ce que l'autre pourrait m'aider? Je pense pas. Ah, attendez. Middle C, sofa, machin. Miso, faré. Attendez. So, c'est bon. C'est E, G, F, D. E, G, F, D et le middle C. Oh, je pense à un truc comme ça. Oh, c'est ça.
Seems to have done something.
Oh, c'est glauque. C'est glauque.
This does not look good. He's dead. You should inform Dr. Fellows about this right away.
It seems Guy was telling the truth after all.
Yes, it would probably be a good idea to let him know of this development.
Ah non, je vais en parler à Guy, d'abord. Excusez-moi. Il y a un mec mort dans le frigo. Comme l'a appelé Hint.
Guy?
Yes?
I found the secret room you told me
Oh,
about.
on a trouvé, je suis
You
content.
see? I wasn't lying.
No, you certainly weren't. There was someone inside. A man.
No. Who?
I'm not sure, but I can only assume it was one of Madame Dupre's servants.
Was he alright?
I'm afraid not. He was dead. Dr. Fellows confirmed it was due to asphyxiation.
Madame Dupre must have put him in there before I drugged her. And then, with everything that's happened, she didn't let him out in time.
Chaud.
Oh my god. It's my fault he's dead. If only I'd known.
The circumstances are quite unfortunate, Mr. Dumas. However, this has shed a new light on Madame Dupre and her cruel practices. I can't say for certain that you were justified in your actions, but I am a bit reluctant to say you were completely at fault. But the bottom fact is that Mr. Martin has been falsely accused of this crime. If I were to let you go, he would be punished in your place. Unless...
Yes?
I'm going to need you to write me a letter, Mr. Dumas.
Of course, Mr. Fordham. Anything to take care of this mess.
On rendez compte qu'on aurait pu laisser accuser l'autre.
Good. Hopefully now this whole grim affair can be brought to an end. That's all for right now, but I'll be back.
Yes, Mr. Fordham. I'll be here.
Oh là là là
A wash basin? When did this place get so fancy?
là. La dingue. Est-ce que je peux reparler aux gens?
Why do you...
Hello again, Miss Montgomery. Mind answering a few more questions?
Hello, Mr. Ford.
Did your mother try to get you withdrawn from the university?
As a matter of fact, she did. Just another one of the many ways she tried interfering with my life.
What happened, exactly?
Mother wrote the university requesting that I be withdrawn. I found out about it when the enrollment office contacted me. I couldn't believe it at first. I thought it was some sort of mistake, but then they showed me the letter.
I take it you were upset.
More than upset, Mr. Fordham. I was furious. I was trying to make a real life for myself. One that wasn't about dresses or debutante balls or fending off suitors. I'd been given the chance to make something of myself, and Mother was ready to bring it all crashing down, just because she didn't agree with it.
But in the end, you're still here.
Yes, Jean stepped in and fixed everything. He didn't have to do it, but it was very good of him. I'm afraid that was the beginning of the end of my relationship with Mother. We never really managed to fix things after that.
No more questions.
Then if you don't...
Fordham, are you thinking what I'm thinking? Wait, what am I saying? Of course you are. Madame Dupre has been interfering with Juliet's studies and disapproved of her relationship with Martin. Hence, they're falling out. Plus, the information in Juliet's notes about ethericity, putting animals into a death-like trance, seems awfully suspicious. It's enough to establish both means and motive. That's plenty to consider her a suspect.
Non, mais on sait que c'est l'autre.
We haven't got anything.
Non, parce que sinon... Ouais, c'est sûr que c'est lui. Il a confesse. Tu vas pas me dire qu'il a mytho. Quand même.
Nothing else to... He's watching.
Welcome back.
She's not...
Non, je pense qu'on est bon, hein. Il y a plus qu'à, hein.
Can we talk?
Go on, I'm listening.
I think I'm ready to wrap this case up.
Okay, who's your prime suspect?
It was Guy Dumas, a former servant at Dupre Manor. He used toxic plants to drug Madame Dupre so she appeared dead, which he learned about from her daughter's schoolbooks.
What was his motive?
That's the thing. I've learned that Madame Dupre is extremely cruel.
C'est trop bien qu'on puisse choisir comme ça et tout.
She regularly beats them, and even has a secret room no bigger than a coffin where she places them as punishment. I discovered this secret room and found a dead servant inside. He had died from asphyxiation.
My God.
A few months ago, Madame Dupre beat Guy's lover Celine to death. He wanted revenge and intended to make Madame Dupre suffer the trauma of being interred alive.
I see.
Constance, I don't think Dumas should be arrested for his crime. He doesn't deserve it. Madame Dupre, however...
Yes, I see what you're saying, and I agree, but what about Mr. Martin?
I got a signed confession from Mr. Dumas. You can see the handwriting matches this note I found in the cemetery. That should be enough to release Mr. Martin, as well as giving Guy a head start in his escape from the city.
It's gonna be tricky getting the department to look into this, but with the proof you've gathered, it should work. Excellent investigating, Fordham. I knew you still had it in you. And of course I'll dip into the department's Good Samaritan fund to get you proper compensation for your work. For now, go home to your wife. I'm sure I'll have something else for you to look into fairly soon.
Oh là là, on a réussi.
I'm looking for Madame Laura Dupre.
This is Madame Dupre. I am her personal physician, Dr. Fellows. May we help you, officer?
I'm afraid I must place Madame Dupre under arrest.
What? On what charge?
Several, actually. Manslaughter, domestic violence, murder in the second degree. Shall I go on, or can we continue this at the police station?
You won't have to worry about Madame Dupre anymore. She'll be in jail for a very long time. And Mr. Martin has been released with a full pardon as well.
Thank you, Mr. Fordham. I appreciate your help and your trust.
Think nothing of it, but you'll need to leave town as soon as you can. Have you made plans?
I was thinking of heading south. New Britannia is too cold and dark. I want to find someplace more like my home.
Well, I wish you the best of luck, Mr. Dumas. Addie, I'm home. Addie?
She must still be out at her hairdressing appointment. I'm glad we're alone because I wanted to talk to you about something.
Yes, Bill, I know. I told you I'm doing my best to try and find the flower shop burglar.
No, for once this isn't about him. This is about you.
You want to talk about me? What about me?
You can play dumb and deflect all you like with everyone else around you, but it won't work with me. I know exactly what you're thinking, and you know exactly what I'm gonna say.
I'm sick of games, Bill. I can't guess. Just tell me.
Have you already forgotten the old days, Miles? Before I died, we were solving cases like nobody's business. You were one of the best detectives on the force. But ever since you started taking that soporific, your mind hasn't been as sharp as before. If you're serious about taking on more complex cases, you need to listen to Adelaide and stop taking it. It's already had a negative effect on your performance.
What are you talking about? We were able to discover the truth about Madame Dupré.
Oui, mais c'était long.
Yes, but if you were working at your full abilities, you'd have come to that conclusion much sooner.
If I stop taking it, you won't let me sleep through the night. Nothing will change.
Well, things would change if you found you-know-who.
I thought you said we weren't going to talk about that right now.
Yeah, well, I say a lot of things.
An understatement if ever there was one. Can't you just keep quiet without me having to take something?
Afraid not, old friend. That's just not who I am or how this works.
If you keep me up all night, I'll go crazy. Things have been hard enough as it is. And if, God forbid, Adelaide were ever to find out about...
Hello, Miles. Is there someone else here? I thought I heard you talking just now.
Il fait 1m10, le bonhomme.
Fantastic. The jig is up. And here I thought we were doing so well, too.
No, there isn't anyone else here. I was just talking to myself.
You're not going crazy on me, are you, Miles?
No, of course not. Don't be ridiculous, Addie.
C'est la perspective, ouais, elle est bizarre la perspective, on est d'accord.
Mrs. Lefebvre was her usual bossy and overly picky self, but she gave me a very generous tip.
That's good.
So I stopped by the shop on the way home and bought a new deck of cards.
Excellent. Shall we have a few rounds of écarté? I believe you demanded a rematch last time we played.
Yes, that would be nice.
Well, you certainly managed to dodge that bullet. I only wonder how much longer you'll manage before one finally hits you.
C'est là qu'on va s'arrêter les gens pour cette découverte et qu'on va passer sur FF. On attend quand même qu'ils aient parlé, hein. Bien entendu.
And it says here they still don't know what caused that explosion.
I guarantee you it was sabotage. Those Redites have been causing a lot of trouble lately.
Is that the group of anti-steam tech radicals?
The very same.
Why Redites, though?
They're named after some fellow named Jonathan Red. Apparently the one who began the whole anti-steam movement. It's really a rather stupid name, if you ask me. And uncreative, to boot.
Well, what would you call them, then?
The Boom Boom Boys.
Something more evocative, like the Boom Boom Boys.
Definitely gets to the point, I'll give you that. Perhaps you'd best stick with the detecting, dearest. Your nomenclature needs a bit of work.
Well, I think it's about time I get ready for bed.
All right, Miles, if you must.
Ok. Et ben franchement les gens, comment on quitte? J'ai trop kiffé, j'ai pas vu le temps passer, ça fait 3 heures qu'on joue. Et waouh! Franchement, trop bien. Ouais, excellent. Excellent. Belle découverte, un coût 12,50 € le jeu. Sur Steam, je vous rappelle d'ailleurs. Trop bien, on finira, hein. On fera d'autres sessions parce que vraiment c'est un jeu en plus qui se prête bien, je trouve, au live. Petite ambiance cosy, tout ça, j'aime trop.